What is going on, guys? We are starting the podcast number one. We got Cody Chaney in the house, and we're going to be talking about a bunch of stuff. I mean, Mustangs and
Life.
life and everything in between.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Cody, introduce yourself.
What all do you want me to say? What do you want me to introduce with? What do you want to know
Well,
about me?
what do people know you from on the channel?
Uh, well, my name's Cody Chaney, and you probably know me from a black GT500,
Yeah.
or it was blue, wrapped blue, and then it went black,
Well, white,
white, then wrapped blue,
blue.
then painted satin black.
Yeah.
Started a lot. It was very fun when it was white and painted or wrapped blue, and then it got really crazy when it went black, and a lot of problems. And
Yeah, I think we're going to talk a lot about the GT500 and the GT500 combo and all that stuff a little bit later on. And obviously, I ended up with the car, and
luckily, yeah,
it finally goes rounds. I mean, honestly, it's getting close to about a year from when the turbo kit got done, and it's been a trooper.
yeah.
The car itself was really drivetrain ready. It needed a solid dialed drivetrain, and a solid tune-up.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll probably start off, I guess, talking about let's talk about life a little bit. You know, since then, right? Been chilling out. You're engaged.
Yeah,
Got the wedding coming up.
I don't know. I would say I wanted to get rid of the car just because of how hectic life was at that point in
Yeah,
time, and I kind of got burnt out on it for a minute.
race car stuff is like it's like going, I mean, 160 miles an hour, quite literally, everywhere else because things break and you're trying to scramble to do everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, you put like 50 grand plus into a car and you want to see it perform, and then when you don't see it perform, you get very not really excited to do anything with the car, especially when there's a million other things going on in life. I mean, at that point in time, I think I was the busiest I ever been with work, and then moving things around, and then getting a house, and then moving in with her together, and then obviously then engaged, and then this whole year been planning a wedding. So
Yeah, and the internet puts a lot of pressure on records, times. You make 1,000 horsepower, but your car runs 9.5. Like, what's wrong with you?
yeah,
You know,
absolutely,
like
yeah.
your shit's slow as fuck. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
that's what the internet has done. But let's save that a little bit for our GT500 talk.
Oh yeah, cause like I feel like I could talk like a
Yeah,
straight hour just about what we learned, what I failed on, and what I wanted to try, and
and what's to come because
yeah,
we
yeah,
got something to come. But
yeah.
we'll talk a little bit life update for me. Baby, you might hear
Jeez,
baby
yeah.
crying a little bit in the background. Just been working my butt off all over. Mustang week was like a week away to do a bunch of Mustang stuff. That was cool. But life's been a little hectic, but baby's home and things are good. So trying to get on a schedule. We've been trying to do this podcast for a while. I think we just did probably at least an hour plus of just setup trying to get this dialed in. So hopefully it all works.
Yeah, I
Looking
got
at
some blue
the
headphones going
cameras
on.
and
Yeah,
and I think as time goes by, we'll kind of dial this setup in more, especially if you guys tell us that you like it. Be sure to hit the like button, comment, subscribe. Those things help get this out to more people. But and of course, if you have questions for both of us, we'll be answering in the comment section. But let's talk first, right off the rip, because I'm going to put this right in the title. Let's talk 2024 Mustang. So that way, anybody who wants to hear about the 2024 and they don't want to listen to us babble for, forever. Although
going hot 2024 right out of the gate.
let's go 2024 because I have my opinions, and let's see what Cody thinks. We haven't even really talked much about the 2024. I don't know what side he's on. Is it a dud? Is it a success? Go ahead.
So there's like, I don't know, there's a lot of haters on it, and like publicly, like,
As is with every generation of Mustang,
yeah,
2018,
yeah, especially for the
2015.
first couple months of it coming out, and then whatever it ends up being. And I know it can't be tuned yet, but like, I mean, aside from the car itself, I mean, I feel like Ford's existence, I mean, I won't say existence, but Ford itself kind of relies on them. I mean, Ford as a company, I mean, and entire economy is not doing well. I mean, it's pretty crystal clear. I don't know, I mean, whatever side you're on there,
Yeah,
I
how
leave
about
politics, leave
those
politics.
prices?
What's that?
Those prices of these
Yeah,
24s, like
exactly. I mean, politics
base
aside,
models, like
yeah.
40 something grand. Ugh.
Yeah, politics aside, I mean, everything's just not doing well. So, I mean, Ford as a whole, I think, uh, really needs, you know, the car to do well. And there's a lot of people. I mean, I hate is an easy thing to get viewership on. So if you're hating on something, sadly in today's world, that'll get more views than typical stuff. That's how you get clout.
It's true, yeah. That the hate brings the craze. I
Oh,
mean,
for sure.
yeah. So I guess as much shit as we talk in this video, right or wrong, it'll get more views. So let's
Yeah.
just start spewing bullshit, right?
Yeah, just name it shit talk in the fucking the title.
Define,
Yeah, it's
define
popping
the
off.
internet in one simple.
Especially for you, because I mean, your whole entire channel, I feel like, has definitely been more positive, and you've always publicly, like, I don't think I've ever seen you really like publicly bash anybody, like, just go in on them, and you
No, but
could in a lot of ways.
yeah, we've had our talks. I mean,
Definitely, yeah. I'll be
the talks behind the scenes. I mean, that's one of the reasons for this podcast. I mean, I try to be professional, nice, whatever. But you get me going sometimes, and
yeah,
I mean,
and there's definitely some people that are definitely owed it for sure, because like
yeah.
if the sides were flipped, they would be destroying you. So like, and
Oh,
you did
yeah.
everything, but you did them right. So like, it's sad. It's today's world.
It is.
But yeah, 2024. I mean, like I said, I think Ford. I wouldn't say Ford existence definitely relies on, but Ford as a company is definitely not doing well. And like all these people that literally just bash on Ford, bash on Ford, bash on Ford. And I'm not a fan of Jim Farley at all. And like I'm in the collision industry, so like I definitely specifically Ford. I'm aluminum certified Ford technician for a body shop collision side. So I need to get parts, and with strikes going on right now, and rumor we just had, today's date is the September 30th, and we just got told like literally 2 days ago that the plant's going to be shutting down for parts production. So
Oof.
like everything as a whole, is definitely not going well. But like I want to push, and they're gonna produce whatever they produce, and it's how you can maximize the performance of that platform. And I believe, obviously, we've already seen these cars go decently quick, not even be able to be tuned. So,
Yep. So my opinion, I've actually been pretty quiet about this, and one of the reasons is if you go on Facebook, you go on YouTube. Not to bash any of my fellow YouTubers out there, but it is so much fucking bullshit. The 2024 does this, the leaks, the rumors, all the stuff leading up to it. I was so tired of it.
yeah.
Like, not to call out staying mode, I like them. Man, 2024 content has just been it's jaded to me in terms of if I don't want to get on a well, obviously I'm getting on a camera and talking about a car that's not physically in front of me, but the reason why I have not to this point is because I wanted to one touch, feel, drive, do stuff firsthand. And I mean, we're not doing it in this video, but I have been able to see the data from other people. Kelly Aiken out there rowing gears, 2024 Mustang. I guess that's not one of his poverty bills. If you guys are familiar with Kelly Aiken at all, his Facebook's great. He just kind of gets a stick up his ass and picks up some random car and tries to make it fast. And he always does, like somehow. But he's been doing a lot. 2024 Mustang, I think he got a 119 trap on the street with a manual car. Bone stock. I don't think he's done anything to it. Like literally tune. No, not tune. Carbon traps.
Delete.
Yeah, carbon trap deletes, which a lot of people are kind of debating about that if it does anything. But I think it slipped into the 11s on the street with a MT82, and then Steeda blasting to the bottom 11s, I think, at 120 something miles an hour. Obviously, they did everything they could but tune it. But I mean, it's got long tubes on it. Does add power. That's been dyno recorded. The other thing I want to say is all these dyno people are getting so upset about dyno numbers. If you look at the graphs and where it hits the speed limiter, And the other fact, like if you're talking a manual car, they hit the speed limiter before they hit peak power. So
Hmm.
people are like, "Oh, it made like 420 wheel horsepower, but it made it at like 6,700." And these things are carrying their horsepower,
You know what's
up above.
funny about that? What you just said there is those same exact people that will bitch that it made no power on the dyno will also argue that dynos mean nothing and it's only about trap speed.
Exactly.
So it's
Yep.
like pick a side, bro. Like,
Yeah.
pick a side. Like what is it? Like is it well dynos don't mean shit and then literally, all we care about is ETAs and mile per hour and they do
And then
decent
they
mile.
trap 120 plus on a stock tune.
Yeah. And then claim, oh, this thing's a pig, this thing weighs 3,800 pounds. It's like, okay, then like you
So
just
has
saw
all
ET
of
per
the
mile per hour. Well,
S550 cars. They've always been
yeah.
heavy.
Yeah.
Um, so to talk about that, and then I think the other thing is comparing like 10 or 80 dyno numbers to get a true closest horsepower reading on a 10 or 80 car. It's seventh gear, and even then, it's not 1 to 1.
Yeah.
No one wants to run that car in seventh gear. It goes 180 miles an hour. You can't on a stock tune because it hits the speed limiter.
Yep.
So you're not even getting a proper reading.
Yeah.
For one. Second thing is seventh gear poles, especially once you start making power with a 10 or 80, they tear up the 10 or 80 trans.
Yeah.
So like the dyno numbers are kind of useless. Maybe the people who have been doing this test, they kind of know that. But again, you get hate, video does well. So
Yeah, exactly.
that's what like the TikTok generation has done to this world. It's like, well, if we put this out there and it gets a lot of hate, it doesn't matter. If we get one detail wrong, doesn't matter. Everyone's going to point that out. It's going to get
Yeah.
more engagement, and the algorithm's going to push it out even further.
Yeah.
So, I
Yeah, no
guess
doubt.
just be wrong, be an asshole, and your video will do really well. That's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
And
I
then I
mean,
guess we should talk about JPC.
yeah, they did really well. I mean,
They
I know they
did.
sprayed it first off, and then
Yeah, and then people are like, "Oh my god, they gutted the hell out of these cars. That's
like
why
every
they're
other
going
Coyote.
fast." I mean, obviously, it's a stock tune.
Yeah.
Like, and then I think JPC put nitrous on it, went into the tens, and then it trapped like 129 with nitrous. And then I think they also got a 10-second pass at 124 without nitrous.
Yeah.
Look, that's pretty sick.
Yeah. I mean,
If it
and
was anyone other than JPC, I would call straight fucking bullshit. Like, oh, you put nitrous on a car,
and then it's claiming
then
to
it
take it
went,
off.
it went faster without nitrous. Are you sure? Like,
Yeah.
but JPCs, they're pretty legit. Like,
Yeah.
they've been in the game forever.
But I don't know. I mean, even then, like, I mean, you still have people like stating, "Oh, like what? It's got 10 grand in mods. It's got $3,000 wheels. It's got a $2,000 light brake kit."
I
Like,
mean, it's what you do when you can't tune it.
well, especially if you spend $54,000 on a car, I hope you can spend $10,000 in mods. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think my biggest gripe with the car is the price, but it's not a Ford fault. It's just like it's the economy. It's the value of the dollar, and it's where everything has gone. So it's one reason why I'm not going to get one. I mean, interest rates are ridiculous. Like, can you
Yeah.
imagine paying what is that, $1,000 a
I mean,
month?
you're getting 8-10% on a new auto loan, even with a
Even if you put
great
like a
credit score. I mean, there's
good
no
credit
deals.
score, a decent down payment, you're paying $1,000 a month
Yeah.
for let's just say a performance pack premium car, 50
That's absolutely ridiculous.
something thousand dollars.
I'm not a huge fan. I wouldn't say I'm obviously not no economist or anything like that, but I do love getting on Twitter. Like I follow so many like big economist pages out there that tell us financial data and monetary policy and Federal Reserve and tell us the health of the economy from so many different opinions and perspectives. And you hear that some of these people that like I think the average new car loan right now is like $750 plus, which is so you and a lot of these people have several of them. I mean, which is crazy. I mean, obviously reflecting back. I mean, when you were both
To
young.
be fair, I did it.
Well, yeah, but yeah, that was. I mean, like that. We haven't even led into that. Like, I mean, obviously, when me and you first met, we were in a much different financial state. Like, you were, I think, still up in the land at that point in time, and like, obviously, your whole entire life's trying to change. Your whole entire viewpoint on things have changed.
Yeah, I mean, not to get too crazy in the financial details, but Cody and I can talk for hours on financials and what, if you really look, everything I see, on a daily basis, I always think how is that person doing that? and I try to like literally math it out,
Mhm.
because I see everything in like money, like everything's
Yeah.
quantified in money. My brain starts like adding numbers, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Where are they getting that money from to buy
Yeah.
X? And that it went back to like back in the day. I had the GT350R. Absolutely love that car. Bought it from Don. I was paying 750 a month, which in all reality is not that bad for a 70 something thousand
$1,000
dollar
car,
car.
yeah.
But I had that. I had the truck payment, and I had a few other things like and I had that Fusion,
Yeah.
and it always came down to like I was like, well, if my monthly YouTube can afford the payment, then I can afford it. And that is like the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like some of these guys are like, oh, gonna go buy a 2024 Mustang, and the ad revenue from the car is gonna pay for the car, so then it's free. And I'm like, yeah, but what happens when like YouTube is like one of those things. I was just
Up
talking
and
about
down,
this the other
complete, yeah.
day. Like you like in a normal business, like if you have assets or something, right? You can like you can make money overnight if you need money. YouTube, nah, man. Like if that payment comes up overnight and people just didn't watch your video, you can't make a million people watch your video overnight and
Yeah, hope something comes from it, yeah.
yeah, there's no instant get money, unless you're on a few $1 million, subscriber, follower count scale.
But even some of those guys that are overdo it, and like, obviously we can name drop them. Like, I mean, I watched them in like Street Speed 717's videos, like talking about that house deal and like all the like the Aventador SVJ, and realizing he has massive loans on those cars, and even talking about like I don't have that much money, but you've seen how much that income that has gone to and
Yeah,
from that
when you
channel.
start doing the math on like that and what he said, I think I've met Mike. He's a pretty good guy, but I think he said his credit score was like six something.
Yeah, I had that video. I remember, yeah, I remember you were chatting about that. You're like, what? And
We were
like,
like,
what?
and I mean, it's got to be because just rolling loan after
Yeah, yeah,
loan
total
and
accounts.
high debt to income.
Yeah.
I mean, my income is very hard to prove and get a loan for. It helps that I have a really good credit score, but I mean, like,
Well, cash in the bank. I mean, that's it's all
yeah,
about having cash, liquid. I mean, what do you actually have? You know,
yeah,
it's
exactly. And but yeah, I mean, going back to that with a 350R, I kind of with everything changing, selling the house, and I had that BMW too, and
yeah, you had several.
I had so much stuff, and it was like I felt like I think I had like a bad like month or two when I was getting ready to sell the house. I put all my extra cash into trying to get the house ready, and I was adding everything up, and I'm like, I don't have enough money to like make my monthly expenses.
Hmm.
So I was doing random shit to, cover it.
Yeah.
And like that's not how I.
I wanted to set
It's
everything up.
that's stressful. So 350R got sold, and obviously I did whatever I could, made money. I always do. Like under pressure, I always follow
Well,
through,
yeah,
figure it
yeah,
out.
figure it out. Yeah.
But I mean, sold the 350R, even though I didn't want to, but I owed like 36 grand on it. Sold it for 70 something.
Yeah.
So, and just reposition myself much better.
Now in the business.
At
Yeah.
the time, it was like I was like, oh, I'm getting rid of this sick car, and I'm not replacing it with anything. Little did I know,
Especially you, because you're definitely the type of guy that has a hard problem letting things go. Like when
yeah,
me, like I'm the type of guy, like if something's not made in mathematical sense, no matter how much I love that car a lot, and it just didn't make mathematical sense. I realized how much I had into it, and obviously at that point, it was a much different financial set myself, but gone,
yeah.
gone.
So I always had problems with that.
Yeah.
Eventually, I mean, look at it now. I mean, I gave up the red GT500, but that car became so stressful and just disappointing after the year of selling it. I
Hmm.
mean, a year of it sitting, and even when I put a stock motor in it, I didn't want to drive it. You
Yeah.
can't go from the top. Oh, let's get in the camera angle. The top, 1,300 wheel horsepower stick blower car Motec to 550 wheel horsepower M122. Like, how can you drive the same car like
Yeah.
that? So,
It's so funny how that happened too. Like when we were chatting about it, like,
yeah,
dude, that's just get right. You just need to get right. I mean, I think we haven't talked.
it was you. You were the
Yeah,
final push.
I think I came over here. I don't know. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock. I was picking up parts, which it was another car we didn't even film. Orange Coyote I bought.
Hmm.
Yeah, Copart and flip. That's a whole story in itself. But yeah, literally, I came over here for some parts or something like that. I needed something for it, and you were in the garage, and I walked by, and I was like, "Dude, you just need to sell this car, piece it together, and sell." And you're like, "I don't know, man. I don't know if I can let it go." I was like, "Dude, look how much money you got around here, just laying
Next
around."
day, Excel spreadsheet,
Listed like 70,
80,
80K in
80
mods.
I think it was actually like I had like a number of what if I sold everything for my listing price of like 90 something grand, and then I took like a 30% or 50, no, I think I did a 15%. So I sold everything for 15% than what I listed it for.
Mhm.
I was at like 80 something grand,
Mm-hmm.
and I ended up with 86.
Yep. So walked into a 2020 plus max
Yeah.
effort car with money in your pocket.
Yeah, so the CFTP
Yeah.
twin turbo cars paid off, which is like it's the nicest thing ever because I pay insurance on the
Yeah.
car. I
It's
got the
not even something to
title.
brag about because, like, I mean, hearing the word, like, that's how things should be said. And, like our parents, like, not even our parents' generation, but, like, back in the day, like, after the Great Depression, like, having things paid off was, like, always the goal. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? It was never
like
an idea to
roll
get
that
into it.
debt.
To
Yeah,
get into debt and then just continue to pay minimums on it. It was always the idea to have something paid off. It's like, if you have something paid off, you should be pretty proud about it. Like, that's, like, it's a big deal, you know?
yeah.
So, yeah, I don't
Man, we got on a tangent. 2024 Mustang.
know.
Let's talk final thoughts. I wanted to talk about the tune because it's not tunable, right?
Yeah. But it will be.
You
Yeah.
can log it, and based off of what I have seen, they see a good amount of timing. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, I think up to 26 degrees, and I believe they're 12-to-1 compression, so they're very similar to the Gen 3. Gen 3s on 93, they really only take like 24 degrees, and then they want to dip off. I run a little bit different VCT on the Gen 3s. If you guys don't know, been tuning a lot of cars, probably tuned 100 plus,
You'll get some
remove.
hate. Yeah, you're gonna get some hate for that, but it is what it is. You're doing
Yeah,
great with it. So
it's great. I've been keeping it low key so that I can just the more cars I tune like in person, then I can tune that same exact combo across the country. It's
I want to do a spin off on that, and I want to like add to that. Like, I know we're talking about 2024 plus, but like where you're striving at and you're gonna do good at is like there's so many entitled tuners nowadays that like literally think like if it's not cookie cutter, it's not this and that. I'm not tuning it, and get lost, buddy.
yeah.
So like if like nobody like none of these tuners want to do an ounce of work. They just want to here you go. Here's a baked tune and to get out of my life. You know what I mean? Which is good and dandy and all. Like that's a great business model. You can you strive at it. And I'm not gonna catch flack. Some of these guys have all the records. I mean it is. I mean they're doing badass work, but at the end of the day, like there is still so much room for people that want to do different combos, like even E30, E47 tunes on like
Hmm.
5.0s and stuff like that, because like they're still a daily and they want to mix. You can do whatever you want. I mean, like I said, there's so many different combos out there, and they need a specific tuner, and it's somebody that's willing to spend the time. And if you're willing to spend the time with them, I mean, it's that's why you're already doing great because there's like I said,
Yeah.
specific peoples. There's specifics in that.
There's so much lazy tuning going on too. Like that that white Whipple car that I just recently tuned made 793 with a 3875 pulley. So baby boost. Um, Tuning for wide open throttle is pretty easy, but when it came in, it had been storing adding 30% in long terms.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who doesn't know any tuning, that means that basically that entire map tuned by another tuner. I wasn't trying to pull the file, but like I couldn't pull the file. I had to put a stock file in it. So they're let's just put it this way: they're a tuner well known enough to where they encrypt their files. And dude, this thing drove terribly. It's adding 30% everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
30% fuel. That means it everywhere. It's 30% less fuel, which means the tune is way off. I tried to like figure I'm like maybe this thing has a vacuum leak. No, and then when I
That's what I was about
finally
to say. I bet the other tutor blamed that it was
right.
a mechanical problem.
And then when I, started tuning it,
Yeah.
thing ran great. I
Yeah.
mean, I had a lot of struggles with getting the Whipple throttle body to work properly, but that was the hardest tune I've done. Everything else, turbo cars, century cars, NA cars, it's all been easy. Some 10 or 80 stuff is a little tricky, but it's that Whipple one was challenging.
Yeah.
Um, Man, we got off on a tangent again. 2024, 93. We'll just
The
try to end
cars are
this
going to be
2020.
fast in another year or two. I mean, depending on how everything goes on with the economy and like how many
It's
companies
gonna
for
be
it's
fast.
going to be
Like we might
yeah.
even see like easily like full weight 130 trap NA cars. Like
Yeah.
no like nitro, no like if anyone knows like any of these Gen 3 A10 cars, it's been like 130 high 130s. Like NA has been with nitro, which I'll give it. It's NA still, but like nitro's like it's badass shit.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that these Gen 3s with E85, they're going to pick up some power. On 93, I don't think they're going to pick up a ton of power because the ignition timing Ford is running from the factory, and I think the cam profile is more aggressive. I think Ford did a better job on Gen 4 cams.
It'll be interesting when somebody actually tears one of these motors apart too, figure out what the difference is.
Yeah, I don't even know if they have that oil belt system that they were talking about on Gen 4.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw that. There's so much unknown with 2024. I'm excited to see it. I want to drive a car, give you guys my first, impressions of actually driving one. Not this BS of just talking about something without physically having it there.
Yeah.
And I'm not planning to buy one. Um, if I
Yeah.
had a dyno here, which I want to eventually, maybe I would go buy the base model for maybe get a dealer hookup, buy it, tune the crap out of it, get all my tunes done, and then dump it. Like
Yeah.
I would have zero intention on keeping a car like that because it's just a GT. It's gonna depreciate. It's
Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, like I said, maybe in a year, if things prices come down, and honestly, not having that, if we even ever find one on Copart and just buy and
yeah.
fix it or do something with
But
it.
as soon as tuning is available for the 2024, someone has a car out there, HB tuners, you might have to send your PCM. I will tune that first car for free. Bring it over here. We'll make it faster. We'll do E85. We'll go to the track. We'll do
Yeah.
all of it as soon as that tuning is available. But for now, I mean,
I don't know. I enjoy that there isn't tuning available right now
I
because
think it's
I
cool
miss
to see the creativeness.
bingo. I
Yeah,
miss like, and I was born in the late '90s, so I can't say I miss like the early 2000s or anything like that. But I miss getting on like I remember getting on SVTP or all these
hmm
forum pages back in like 2010 to 2015 and seeing like old posts back from like 03, 04, how people were doing stuff with the Cope, like literally just throwing different things at it, trying this, trying that, figuring out this combo, like things like that people now just throw parts at cars. They just throw
Yep.
money at a car to get it to go fast instead of trying different things on a budget. Like like not being cheap, but doing things on a rough budget to. But yeah, I mean, I want to see people like just try. That's what I mean. You can never go back in time. That's a quote. That's one of my favorite quotes. I got a whole list of quotes in my notes that every time I hear a good one, I write it down. I'm like a huge quote guy. But the best setups happen by accident. So like
Yeah.
that's exactly like even when the blue car was on stock motor and we
hmm
went so fast with it, the best setups like you never know when you're in the great times. It just happens
That
by accident.
that is so true. Like sometimes I look back like at some of these older videos that
Who would
I've
have thought
done.
we would have bought GT500s at the same time and we somehow met and did all this stuff
Yeah.
at the same exact time and like we were never like now we're fucking back. That was even through the struggles like we just mentioned and how life was different back then. And we
Yep.
were struggling to get everything together. We still had like a ton of fun
Oh
because we
yeah.
were doing. You know what I mean? So you don't realize that's happening until it's over with.
So now we're old and we're looking back and we're like, we want to do that again, but better. We
Yeah,
want to actually achieve the goal.
yeah,
Um, so I guess 2024 Mustang will end it out.
yeah.
I think they got a potential. They're really expensive for what they are.
Yep.
Um,
Don't listen to everybody you see on the internet, even no matter how much clout they have. I mean, just do your own thing, live your own life. Uh, Ignore the hate, really. I mean,
yeah,
they're quick, they're not slow. I mean, that's for sure, and they're getting a lot of hate. But it's just like any other new Mustang that comes out. Give it a couple years, and everything will be out just like this one,
yeah.
and you won't hear a single word.
E85, 31 degrees ish. Depending, it might even take 34. Who the hell knows? I've seen some like some.
Yeah,
I've seen some tunes, some logs really from some reputable tuners. and I've seen 34 degrees, and I'm like, damn. And remember, VCT changes a lot. It
Yeah.
changes, it's your intake, your exhaust. It's changing everything about how it takes that spark, and
Yeah.
that's why there's 26 spark tables
Yeah.
times two in a
Yeah.
Coyote, 15 up, because they're all based on VCT position.
Yeah.
But 34 degrees, like,
Yeah.
damn, that's a
Yeah.
lot.
I don't know. I'm just not. I mean, you know how it is. I'm not. I mean, I've owned four plus Coyotes in my life, and I don't think we've ever done any filming with them, or you have some of scrapped footage. But I've just never been a huge fan of the Coyote. What some people hate. I'm a 03, 04 Cobra fanatic and a 07 to 14 GT500. Like that's my car. 07, 14 GT500 where I'm at.
Me, I'm the Coyote guy.
I mean, obviously we know you have 5 of them swapped in different cars.
Is it 5? Is it 6? I don't.
I don't know.
I mean,
there's at least 20 Coyotes sitting in that building back there.
is it that I like Coyote so much, or is it just that it's so freaking easy to make a Coyote combo
Work.
make power, go fast, and stay the fuck together?
Oh, absolutely.
Stock form.
Yeah, I can't hate on them. I mean, like I said, it's not my preference, but I'm just like you said that they'll definitely be on the fastest mod motor. Well, not the fastest mod motor. Sadly, 4.6 is still king, but
yeah. Well, that just comes down to a wallet game. Who's got the bigger wallet to put on the line?
Yeah, exactly.
Baddest chassis. I mean, chassis a lot of like going fast, and we're talking like 4s or faster in the 8th. Like,
yeah, just dumb stuff. I mean, at that point, it's like, and then it becomes to the point where like a lot of people can't even relate. So like that's what's kind of funny watching all these. I don't even care who we name drop, but watching all these Cobras too, like these 03, 04 Cobras that were all the like the Whipple gang, that are all now not getting off the Whipple gang and all going turbo, and like.
Yeah,
it's cool and all, but they don't realize the same exact thing. They were in the height of the moment. Like a good happened by accident, and then they're changing these platforms, and they're gonna. I mean, I can already tell some people are gonna lose like the momentum and the happiness and the joy that they had with the car, and not even realize they lost it because they were just trying to chase a number or chase something that wasn't actually there. And,
well, let's talk about the Cobras for a little bit, right? I've had one Terminator. Never really raced the crap out of it. But I mean, the Cobra's a great platform.
Yeah. My best friend, Ryan, does not really post, but he's had 5 Cobras up in Ohio, and he was always the Cobra side of the thing, and I was always the GT500. And he's like my absolute best fan. He's my best man at my wedding. And he's got a max effort 10th anniversary 03 Cobra, 10,000 miles, twin turbo, Texid, 11-to-1 compression, 1,000 horsepower plus Cobra. And he races it, but like he said the same exact thing. Twin turbo Cobras just don't get the clout that blower cars do. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, so Jeff Smith, we both know him, local guy. He's had the car, it has 20-something thousand miles, a quarter mile at a time. And the car it went years on stock motor, making 700 to 900 wheel horsepower, stayed consistent. He's got a built motor in the car. Car runs anywhere from a 9.8 to 9.1 in competition. Stays consistent. The car stays together. It's an IRS car. I don't even think it's broke 4 digits on the dyno. It made like 950. It's a Whipple car. It's had a VMP on it before. The specifics don't matter because he targets basically that slower stick shift class, and he wins races.
Well, he just showed. I mean, half of it's showing up. I mean, that's what the problem is. It's like if you don't have a car show up or it's constantly broken, like you know what I mean. You got to have a platform and a combo that like, you can just show up in. It's not always chasing to be the baddest dude out there. It's just chasing to being present.
Now, Jeff has talked to me sometimes. He's like, oh, well, maybe I want to make it faster. But then he remembers, like, no, you got to keep it consistent.
Yep.
Let's talk Dan Watts, right?
Yep.
Yellow Cobra, fast as fuck. I'm pretty positive it's deep in the 4 digits. Whipple 3-liter, badass built motor.
Deep in the what you said? Deep in the what?
4 digits, horsepower.
Oh, 4-digit horsepower. Yeah, yeah.
11, 12, something like that.
Yeah.
Who even knows? I think it has a slipper clutch, or it's bounced around.
Yeah, it's got he's jumped back and forth.
If you got a slipper clutch, a dyno readings, it's insignificant, but it's trapped like 160 plus.
Yeah.
But like, if you look at that car making a pass, it's not sustainable.
To do it, yeah, back.
If you look at the way it's leaving with the IRS, it's squatting so hard, it's picking the front wheels up, but not from like power wheeling. It's because it pogos the front, comes down, bangs second gear, rip the tires back up, and
you're breaking a crank, you're breaking a trans, or you're breaking the IRS.
Well, you've seen these.
How many cranks has he gone through? How many trans has he gone through? How many
balancer failure, transmission failures, blower failures.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, you can make a blower combo work, but there's a lot of factors there that's just making it hard to keep that car consistent. It can make a record, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's a struggle. If you've watched Second Shift Racing, right? Garrett Leash,
Zach Yasko,
yeah, and Garrett Leash, I think that's his name. And he's shown the struggles. I mean, they're tearing this thing apart in the pits every pass. And I think it took him like 2 years to get that 8-second pass with 160 plus miles an hour.
Well, they were all chasing 8s for the longest time. And then Crane and then Garrett and
Alan Garrett. I mean, he's done pretty well at keeping the car consistent.
Yeah, and I give benefit where benefits due. I mean, he's on a completely shit track too, so
yeah,
the car just works.
I mean, that's a cool track. That's a bucket list track.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not a shit track. The track's beautiful, but it's just not a, you're not going out setting a record on the surface.
What's the altitude there? I don't even know. It's
got
to be up there.
Yeah, it's probably up there. But yeah,
Let's talk about your opinion on Alan Garrett on what you saw posted.
Which part?
The blue car, right? He had the failure.
The motor,
the transmission. You told me off camera what you thought of it.
Yeah, I forget how I put it, but yeah, it's definitely weird because what he classified as old slappy, like a motor he built in his garage, and years, and then had a crank failure. Then he put another motor in it. I think first outing had a crank failure as well. But I don't even know. I mean,
well, I think the word is maybe turbo TH400, right?
Yeah, he said he potentially going to be putting an auto in it. But the minute he goes auto, he's going to have, and I mean, like I said,
it's going to
whether he's chasing.
Like, you're talking twin turbo TH400 built motor in the car, 7 seconds, done.
Yeah.
Like, done, easy, set and forget it.
I mean, I know the dude's not chasing clout, and I know he doesn't care, like, if he gets 600, 1,000 likes on his Instagram post, but it's definitely a form of motivation.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you do that max effort build, and you don't have as many people giving their opinion or saying, hey, bro, good luck, like, I don't know, I don't think it's going to be as relatable as a setup, because nobody striving to build a twin turbo TH400 Cobra.
It kind of depends. I mean, it goes back to that. Do you want to set a record and have a good test and tune car, or do you want something that you can go rounds with that a track? Because if Alan Garrett wants to start, coming from Alaska to over here, that's basically impossible.
Yeah.
Bringing a car every time. But if he wanted to go round somewhere, TH400
that's the way to
turbo car, your reaction time and maintenance on that car is what's going to keep it going rounds.
Yeah.
That's that. You know?
Well, especially once you figure out the platform, the combo.
Well, let's be real. It's a Fox body chassis car. We're talking 79 to 04. They're all the same in a way. So the suspension's been figured out.
Well, there's so many people that I've literally in that platform too that we're not even naming, like SVT Baker. Where'd that guy fall off?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, that car was like a king. Remember when he made 1,300 on stock bottom end, posted all around, and thousands and thousands of people chiming in, dude, this car's badass. Broke the internet, and then I guess throttle body bolt took him out, and then that car's been dead since then. A lot of people, I've heard a lot of people saying it's going to come back. Minion's the same exact way. Minion
broke the internet.
Yeah.
And then Joel Steele said, "Watch this." Like,
yeah,
what
the
did
call
Joel
out.
Steele run? 6
Yeah.
something. Like he built. I don't know if he built that car overnight, but it seemed like he did.
Yeah.
And
But
that was
nothing like
years
spending,
ago.
nothing like spending 200 grand for literally just to lay it on them, dude. Like there it is.
Yeah, that was
Those cars are,
badass.
those cars. You go to that level, it's just like there's no budget. It's just dump it into it, and literally, hopefully, you have a checkbook good enough to
Yeah,
cash
we
that.
might see Joel Steele at FL2K. I heard that I know he's been trying to come back with something even faster than that car, but
Stick shift S197. I know he's building 2 cars, and he's got an S550. I bought the injectors off him.
yeah,
For
there's something in the cook, in the works,
Yeah.
but
And then like Nathan Shortridge too. He's another Cobra.
yeah,
He went ghost for a while. I know Shortridge and Baker, I think, were friends for the longest time too. But
who else is in the group? I mean, Garrett Leash, Second Shift Racing, he's got Eaton on the car.
he's a budget racer. He's a budget racer.
He's got a gifted nitrous kit on the car. I think it's been like a bottom 10-second pass, and he's having the time of his life.
Ripping that 9.9 like 100 shot or something like that.
Yeah.
Another guy's gone ghost is Tanner Bicey or Base, but I don't know. He's probably gonna be pissed if he watches this and see that I was completely.
Wait, is that the one with the red Cobra? He just
we've chatted every now and then. He'll hit me up every few months or 6
dude.
months.
He would post a video of him no lift shifting the car, banging limiter, and the internet
best setups happened by accident,
right?
Because I mean, dude, he was literally everybody was sharing that car. That car was nasty. I know he had a blast with that car.
Yeah, that car had like a fucked up rear quarter or something.
Yeah,
too,
but it was just literally
Band-Aid over it.
Yeah, exactly. But it was just an enjoyable car. You could tell he drove the car a ton.
Yeah.
And then I think he put a Whipple on it. He tried to turn it way the fuck up, and something broke, and then it just becomes a garage ornament for a little while.
Yeah, it's just kind of one of those things when you start. You have this, simple setup, stock motor. It's one of the reasons why I like these stock Coyotes so much.
That's a whole nother comic. Literally.
But like,
lead onto that comic.
There's so many engine builders that suck, and the ones that are good take forever. And I mean, it's expensive. It takes forever, and people like life changes, right?
Yep.
Like when you're like, yeah, man, I'm gonna build this motor. We're gonna make 1,300 horsepower, 1,500 horsepower. We're gonna show the world what's up. And then 1.5 years later, when your engine's done, you're like, man, that's expensive. Like, I don't really want to.
These are the people me and you strive on currently, though. Like over the last year.
That's when I go scoop up their project.
Completely off camera. It's like, what's the deal this week, Andrew? Well, this guy literally put $15,000 in this motor, and he's got like 40 grand in the car, and he literally said he's getting a divorce this week, and the old lady said, get out of the garage. He's gonna let it go for 8 grand. I'm like, load the trailer, baby. Let's go.
That's what it is. I mean, that's how it goes. I mean, life changes, and a year to build a motor is that's rough.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the dates.
Hello.
Yeah.
I mean, I actually, when I dropped off my engine to get fixed on the red GT500, I was like, crap, I'm going to have to sell a lot of stuff to pay for this, right?
That was before everything kind
right.
of took
But
off.
I was like, you know what? I'll be able to pay for it in like 3 months or whatever.
Yeah.
1 year later, still wasn't done.
Yep.
And that's when I was like, this car.
That's how you completely lose motivation.
Yeah, I mean, like I had I had the turbo. I still have the turbos in the shops, waiting to figure out what I'm gonna do with it. 2 Garrett 67mm turbos, 1,600 wheel horsepower capable turbos.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. I had the air to water Shelby mic manifold.
Yeah, you had everything pretty much.
And I had that stock 5.4 in there ready to get mocked up. And build the turbo kit, and I just got no progress on the engine. And things are busy. Time flies by. But just after that, like 1 year mark, I was just like, I don't know, like this car, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I can't keep pushing something that's not getting done, and my hands were tied. Like I think I can build a motor, fairly well, but my head had a hole in it, right?
Yeah.
Like I can't fix that. I don't know how to fix that.
Yeah.
Especially
at that point in time, like we weren't like as time goes on, you learn more and more skills and how to piece stuff together and do stuff. And at that point in time, like we were. It's not until you're your third or fourth rendition on how you do something that you're like confident, okay, I'm gonna do this myself.
Yeah, you feel like you don't need that other person you paid a lot to do
Money to
it.
do.
That may or may
Yeah.
not have been done
Yeah.
100% right, or it might have been done right, but then it failed for whatever reason.
Exactly.
And you're like, this would have been better if I did it myself, because at least it's
and
like,
all you needed to see was them piece it together, or like watch it actually in depth to know, like, okay, well, I'll just do it.
Yeah. Well, I guess on that note, let's talk about the black car, the 07 GT500.
That's why I got burnt out. I mean, like
Yeah.
the same exact thing. I put 3 motors in that car. Like, I mean, I had 3 different motors. I never put them in the car, but I had 3 different built bottom ends that never amounted to anything before I finally got a built long block to get in the car. And then we just had belt issue after belt. Like, I shouldn't. That car.
Well, let's start at the beginning, right? 07 GT500, bone stock. You bought in Ohio with like no
So
miles
I
on
bought the car from actually, Beefcake, Terry Beefcake. The dealership he was at, up in Cincinnati. I don't know why the name's crossed my head. He used to be at the dealer before he used to be an actual sales guy there. And that car was there, and I bought that car. It wasn't. I don't think I bought it through him. I bought it through another sales guy, but he was there, and it was a 20 or 19,500 mile, and the only thing that was done with it was a pulley, intake, a tune, and a 373 gear.
Yeah.
And I didn't even drive the car. I just bought the car sight unseen at the dealership.
I pulled the Carfax. It's like clean, no accidents, no BS. Like,
yep. And I paid $26,800, I think, for the car.
Yeah.
New. So, and that was back in like 2016, 2017. So I got a fairly good deal on it, and I didn't even drive the car. I pulled out of the dealership, got on the highway, and the rear end was screaming. Like screaming like a dog. So I was like, okay, well, I need to figure that out. So I got home, and that's how the car got a 315 gear. Because I had a spare rear end in my garage from a 6R80 2014 5.0, and I put a 315 complete rear end assembly in the car. And that is same rear end that is in that car now that I sold you as a roller, which you finally just changed the gear.
Yeah, Nick Curtin just swapped from the 315 to 373 finally. Yep.
And we made, well, it was white. I moved to Florida. My family moved to Florida. I turned 18, 19 years old. I got out of high school, and I was like, I don't really want to move to Florida, but I'll do it anyway. So I came down here as I got nothing to lose. Friends going to school. I can get a job there, no problem, with my trade. I've always been in the collision industry since a very young age because I was partly homeschooled, so I knew when I got down here I could figure it out. Make some bread, figure something out. And I came down here, and then I started slowly modding the car. The Vision X fuel system, KB 158 throttle body with a 2.3 TVS off Justin Young's car that was ported. Car made like 816, 820 wheel, and it was a ball. It was a lot. It was very fun.
That's when me and you met up. Nick Stockish was like, dude, there's this kid Cody. He's got a GT500. He's going fast the track. Nick is like he's like everyone's cheerleader. He's just he's just like gets hyped.
Say it right. Say it right.
Oh man, he just he just loves seeing stuff like that, and he told me, and sometimes I was kind of like, oh, okay, someone who's going fast at the track with GT500, what are they going 11s? Because like someone who's actually going fast, especially in that time period with a GT500, like it just didn't exist, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I wish like more people, because like I mean a lot of people saw the failures from this car and like, oh, like he built all this thing and never mounted anything, but like that was when I never enjoyed it on that combo. When I enjoyed it, what I did the most was when it was white and when it was I wrapped it in blue. Like those stages, those two colors. If you see the other passes or go back on my Instagram or whatever old posts you see, that was when all the fun happened. That was
that's when I had my 14 because I got my 14. Well, when I was getting rid of the Cobra and getting the GT500, I had already talked with Justin at VMP. And that was kind of like one of the little things, like behind the scenes. I was like, well, basically I'll be set up to get pulley, tune, cold air intake. Like everything was lined up. Like we were going to go put all these bolt-ons on the car right away. I have good friends with JLT at the time, so they were providing a JLT. It was just something made so much sense. Like the mods were basically free, and I was getting into a brand new platform, a car that's worth a lot more money. Because talking money, I've still always seen things in like money, right?
Yeah.
And so I got into the GT500, and then Justin was coming out with the Gen 3R.
I remember that.
So we only did the mods to the stock blower just to make video content.
Yeah.
And then as soon as the Gen 3R came out, I think I got number 2 Gen 3R. And that's when met up with Cody, and then Cody was like, well, I want a Gen 3R. And then we just started.
That was like literally the day they came out. Like I remember he got a pallet of them like that Thursday or Friday.
Yep.
You were there with the car. I was coming there to pick one up. Me and Justin were chatting in DMs, and I was like, I want a Gen 3R. Like I'll just come buy it from you cash. Like I'll bring the whole car. We'll do everything right there.
Yep.
And he's like, okay. And like I already told him what the power, and he's like, well, you're already on the end of like stock motor. And I was like, dude, if that's okay, I had this whole entire fetish in my head. Like, oh, if the car blows up, it is what it is. That
and
was
your car was tuned by Lund.
Lund, yes. Yep. Lund, Brandon Doretta, which like that dude was cool. Like I think we still follow each other on Instagram or Facebook. I don't know if he unfollowed me or not, but I still see all this. He like has a plane now and stuff like that. But we were always chatting, and he was always down to do cool stuff. So like if it was late at night and we were on the dyno at like 9 o'clock, I could just DM him and be like, "Hey man, here's the tune," and he'd look it over. And like that was why we had a lot of success that we had. And I mean, obviously it's a relatively easy setup to tune, and we always kept the tune very marginal. We just crammed a fuckload of boost through it.
Yep. Get a wideband hooked into the N gauge.
Yep.
Public service announcement. If you have a pre-2010 car, you need a fucking wideband to tune the car.
Yeah.
Stop being cheap.
Spend the $800 to $1,000 and literally get the whole freaking setup. Like I think that car specifically had the ZTK setup plugged into the wideband, dual widebands.
You had the N gauge setup. I'm talking like 03 Cobra guys and like 99 to 04 Vortex Superchargers or whatever. They're like, why do I need a wideband? I'm like, I don't know, so your car doesn't blow up.
Yeah. Well, let me go ahead and just tune it with not knowing what the AFR is.
So that was just a little side note, but that was extremely important. It also leads us to our decision on the new car, which we'll get into that a little bit later.
But I don't know. I mean, it went like 9.8, 9.9 at like 142 with a 2.3 TBS on it,
which is
made like 820 when it's white. Yep.
Yeah.
And we got the Gen 3R, did an ice tank in it, and the car made like, I think the most we ever made SAE was like 935 or something like that, which that was like, I mean, I remember always posting those on the GT500 forum. It was always a blast.
Well, let's talk about that.
Getting so many people pissed off. That's what the fun was at. It was like,
yeah, well, let's talk about that time that we thought we blew it up. Remember on the dyno?
On the dyno, yeah.
Right? So
vacuum leak duct tape stuff.
Gen 3R. What did we put on? A 2.4 pulley?
Well, he Justin had two blowers there. He had a Gen 3R secret sauce, and he had a regular ported Gen 3R, and then he had a regular Gen 3R.
Right. Well, so let's see. My car had a secret sauce or whatever.
Yeah.
You got a basic one.
Yeah.
And then Justin was like, "Well, this kid's like racing this car, so let's test the Gen 3R."
Oh yeah, I mean, there was a lot of people that bought a Gen 3R because of that car. I'm talking a ton of people.
Yeah, so we were on the dyno, and we're like, all right, let's try the secret sauce blower, and let's try to, like, pulley it down and see how much power we can make on a stock motor.
Yeah, car had a 10% lower at that point in time, so we were...
Well, and you want to talk... So Justin had to leave, right? And then, so he kind of just left us with... no.
He had a date night that night or something.
He had a date night, right? So we were rushing... He was like...
To get out of there.
There was a hole on the elbow because it was for, like, the 13-14 without the evap.
Yeah, evap
thing.
Yeah.
So
all that stuff was deleted.
He put duct tape over it.
I think that we had over it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we went, made a pull. The thing started just smoking,
surging.
Yeah, smoking like crazy. Like it just ran like crap. And Justin's like, "All right, see you guys. Let me know if you need anything." And then we're like, "Well, I guess there goes."
Well, he knew. I mean, I always told Justin too, like, if this thing blows up, bro, don't even sweat. And we were at his house, dyno shop too. So like, it was very relaxed setting. We were just there turning the car up. I think it was like 30, 31 pounds, 2.4 to 10% lower. Literally, that's a problem is when you start making over 900 wheel on a GT500 on stock cams, like the boost just starts rapidly climbing, and it can't escape fast enough. So like you're just throwing boost at it, and you're not getting marginal returns.
So we thought we blew it up. Turns out the duct tape just kind of sucked itself in.
Yeah.
Not like fully in, just like enough
pop
to
the hole.
break.
Yeah, just literally caused a
pop
huge
hole.
vacuum leak.
Put the other blower back on, right? And then we were good to go.
Yeah, ran like a dream. And I'm pretty sure that weekend, or that following weekend at SCT Streetcar Takeover Tampa, or Bradenton, we went like 9.5, 9.6 all weekend.
And then Mod Nationals?
Mod Nationals before that.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, Mod Nationals. I'm pretty positive Mod Nationals before that. So we went to Mod Nationals, and that's why like we went on the original BMP dyno. We made like 9:30, and then I told Justin like we're going out to Mod Nationals. We had great weather.
Yeah.
It was like 45, 50 degrees, and first pass off the trailer went like 9.49 at 152.
That's moving on a stock motor.
I've never seen another stock long block GT500 trap over 150.
Yeah, until soon.
Who?
Soon.
Until soon, yeah. Yeah, this one's going to be fun.
But, I mean, so we had a lot of fun. Stock motor, GT500, that's... Everyone kind of gets wrapped up in, like, what supercharger should I get for my stock motor GT500? And people are like, you should get a Whipple, you should get a Chaney bell, you should get a VMP, you should port the Trinity, you should do this, you should do that. I think you should do whatever blower you think looks the best for your car if you're just going to go to car shows.
Yeah. Oh, that's exactly what you're doing.
It doesn't matter really that much if you're not racing the car.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of, stock motor, let's just say the safe limit of a stock motor, you're safe, it shouldn't blow up is 750, 800, right?
Yep.
Getting a Whipple 3 liter, a Whipple 3.8, a Chaney bell 3.2, like just anything big, and especially those piece of junk 3.4s, 4.0s, and 4.5 Whipples. The 3.4, 4.0, and 4.5 Whipples are junk. Like, if you want to brag that you have a big ass Whipple on your car, sure, go for it. The 3.8 Whipple will destroy the 3.4, the 4.0, and the 4.5.
3.4 was junk. I mean, even JD Gore, right? I mean, like he did a perfect analysis. If you go to literally the TVS versus the 3.4 Whipple that he had, is how hard it smacks, how hard it hits. I mean, you literally, there's so much to it. But.
That's where like the VMP, in the TVS. I mean, even the 2.3 Trinity is a great blower.
Yep.
For a stock motor, like if you want to keep the rods in it and have a lot of fun, like a TVS blower is the way to go on a stock motor.
Yeah, there's so many opinions about that on how to keep a stock motor GT500 alive.
Don't get me wrong, like a 3-liter Whipple, like it can do it, but the TVS just hits hard down low.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is not what all these old men want. They'll go out and they'll stab it one time and they'll be like, man, that thing broke the tires right off the rear at 60 miles an hour. It's like, what do you think is going to happen when you make 800 horsepower? Like, on stock Michelin Pilot 4S's or Goodyear Eagle F1s. Like, the real 07.
But, I mean, like, I don't know. There's so much... And, like, I could go on a whole tangent what my personal opinions are on how to keep a stock motor GT500 alive. And there's a lot of people that will disagree with me, some people that won't disagree with me. Regardless of point, I've been definitely the fastest mile per hour on a stock long block GT500.
Yep.
Zach Price, guy with the blue car out in California, he claims he has the fastest stock motor, stock trans, and he went fast. I mean, I told him, like, I liked it. I give him, the benefit of the doubt. Told it was a badass car and whatnot, but he had a blueprinted stock long block. So he took the whole entire stock long block apart, and he claims he put everything back to factory spec. Now, at the end of the day, I mean, you can do cam timing. You can change cam timing, retard the cams or, move cams around to make power at certain different RPM. And then that just changes cylinder pressure. So, like, at the end of the day, it's not really a stock long block anymore. And then it was faceplated 6060 as well. So it's... The whole point of it was stock motor, stock trans, and you took a motor and took it apart, and then you faceplated the trans. So, and he still went he went 9.48. I went 9.49, but he went like 144 mile an hour. So it's like 10 miles.
I posted my GT500 with a stock motor on that page. Yeah. I tried to get into But oh no, I tried to get into Anything Goes, and I was like fourth on the
Oh yeah, with
list.
the black car with the
With
coyote.
the black car with the Coyote, and they did not. They were pissed.
Yeah.
They were like, "No, this doesn't count." Blah blah. Blah. I'm like, all right.
So many people were getting pissed at me too, because I used to run like on the GT500 forum. There's like, I don't know, 10,000, 15,000 people on it. I would I made
on
a
Facebook, by the way.
yeah, on Facebook.
Forums are dead. Unfortunately.
GT500 Nation. You go to there. There's a whole Facebook page. I don't know, several thousand plus members in it. And I made a post like 3 or 4 years ago. I started going fast with the GT500, and I said, let's make a list so we can chronologically list everybody that's fastest. Anything goes auto, anything goes manual. So I'm talking any blower, turbo, max effort motors, trans on those lists.
Apparently, Coyote isn't classified under
Yeah.
Anything Goes.
So there's some fast cars on there, 6-second, 7-second cars. And then there's the bottom list, which was the stock motor, stock trans list.
Yep.
And that was where, like, I don't know, 50, 100 plus cars literally just all trying to go see where they stack out on the list.
Yep.
And then once I sold the car, I stopped. People still comment on that post to this day. I got out of it, and then another guy took the post over.
Yeah.
He's gone extremely fast, too. That's another car up in Michigan. I forget his name. I'm blanking out on it. But he went like 955 at like 146 with a 1314 car. 30 max effort stock motor, stock trans. And then before he blew it up, he wanted to take it apart. And he had potential to bury that car. Like, if you're going to build the absolute max effort stock motor, stock trans car, you can really do some stuff now that, like, you just learn over time.
Yeah, I mean, my car was on the edge of going 9s. It went 10-0, I think, 2 times in a row.
At 142?
Yeah, I was on stock clutch. So I was treating that stock clutch like it was a slipper. Like, I brought it up to 5,500 RPM, and I just sidestepped it. And it left with everything that clutch could hold. I think it went a 1.5 60 foot.
You know what's funny about this, too, is, like, some of your best passes, I think some of your best passes were when the car was stock motor. Same with me, too. Like,
Well,
I never beat my ET when we bet max effort like that.
I only, let's see, I only went 4 passes on stock motor.
Yep.
That was it. Like, and that car was not exactly a race car for me. In a way, like, that was the most expensive car I had ever bought at the time.
Yeah.
So, like, to me,
You drive it a little bit different.
Yeah, like, to me, that car was like, I need to keep this thing super nice. Like, I think I took the seat and some of the plastics out to, like, try to take some weight out of the car. But, like, I didn't want to take, like, all the panels and everything. Because, like, I wanted the car to still be, like, 100%, like, super nice. So, it was what it was.
Yeah, it was a dud at the track, though, when you got, like, max effort motor. Was never the aspect. It was fast on the street.
I went 141 with the stock motor.
Mm-hmm.
We bent a rod, stock motor, super cold night. Not gonna blame anyone. I guess just blame myself because
it did also have a buttload of timing in it.
Well, so let's Justin was tuning the car. When he tuned the car with Gen 3R on 93, it made like 8 something on boosted, or no, 790 something on boosting. Then he dialed it back as any tuner does, and then I put it on the dyno. Well, no, I got gap ties by a Hellcat and a ZL1, and then I put it on the dyno. It made 718.
Yeah, I remember that.
And I called up Justin, like, dude.
I put myself on the dyno that night and made like 800 plus.
I was like, dude, I can't be having my car dyno at 800 and it only makes 718. And he's like, all right, well, let's do E85. So we did E85. It made like 830 or something like that, and it made a boatload of torque.
But you're on the border of the stock fuel system too.
Yeah, stock fuel
sketchy.
system. I think we looked at the log, and it was a little lean. Yep. And it had a crap load of timing down low and peak torque, and that is what bends the rods.
How you keep a GT500 alive? Yeah, and Zach Price is going to disagree with
that timing out down low, where it'll make it feel super fast. You gotta take it out, and then and then to be fair, we also had like a minus 2000 DA night, and I went out and gap tied Lewis in his ProCharge GT350. Yeah. I was in it to win it. Gap ties him. Car felt fine, slowed down, and then when I got back to this little meetup spot, you just heard knock, 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 and I'm like,
And somehow you didn't blow it completely apart, which still sounds.
Yeah, bent a rod. That is indicative typically, and there really was no signs of detonation. Even though I said it looks like it went a little lean on some of the logs. Um, there's no signs of detonation on the pistons. That is really just indicative of too much torque, too much power.
Yep.
You know, we were minus 2000 DA, so that 830 on the dyno could have been, I don't know, 860, 880, 900, and it's really the torque that probably bent that rod.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, I don't know. Like I said, keeping a stock motor GT500 alive, you need, like, you don't need cylinder pressure. And like a lot of people disagree. Like Zach Price guy disagrees with me because he says like, oh, I read my car to 7,700 RPM, and like that's all fine and dandy, but I guarantee if you take another 13, 14 GT500 that makes 820 wheel on a TBS on the 85, and you're up to 7,700, it's gonna blow the fuck up. Like I know it for a fact. So
I mean, I'm an RPM guy, so
you are.
You know, the Coyote, especially, you know, the funny we're talking about the black car, right?
Yeah.
You know, I started the Coyote rev limiter out at 75, then it was 8, then it was 82, and then it was 85. The Coyote and RPM, they just go together.
Yeah.
The thing screams to 8,500 RPM, and it's a stock motor, but the Coyote is the evolution of your original 4.6, 5.4, 5.8 mod motor.
Yeah.
You know, in a more production, you know, mass produced base, right?
Think Mike Harrison or whoever created the Coyote back in like 08.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm Team SVT. That's literally Ford died in 2014. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we were actually talking. We were with the car. We got to talk about that, the new car coming up. But we were talking about taking the stock motor out of that and putting it in
that car.
That car, just so we could claim the record and then pull it back out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think the new plan's pretty good.
Yeah.
But I guess you want to talk. So we talked about the good and the fun that you had on the stock motor, you know, Gen 3R setup. And then where did it start going just too crazy?
So yeah, that's another thing I think I was thinking about when we overcomplicating builds with non-needed shit.
Yeah, single belt conversion, top of the list, right?
That's pretty high up. Well, let's just say this:
not to trash BPS.
Where
BPS makes good parts.
Where right? I went wrong was when the car was wrapped blue, and you can go back on my page or whatever, and I had a picture of cams, L&M and SR cams, beside the car, saying, should I throw cams in this? I bought these cams used because I knew I was going to absolutely destroy them with this goal. My goal was to make 1,000 plus when I stock bought them in GT500 and go like 160. And mind you, kind of alluding to what we're trying to do now. But that's the day I went wrong. Because I was like, you know what? While I'm here, let's just go ahead and build this damn motor. So I took the motor out. Yeah. And taking the motor out led to me like, okay, well, you know, I definitely need to put a cage in this car because it's been way overdue. So let's just go max effort, 85 cert cage. So I'll do it myself. And then I was like, okay, so we put the cage in. Well, I pulled the dash out of the car, and then I was like, okay, well, I'm going to pull the heater core out of the car and all this shit out of the car. My car weighed like 3,480 without me in it. Like, it was still a heavy. It had all the amenities other than like AC, and that was it. I just had AC. I still had all the AC shit in the car, like condenser, all the lines. I just took the AC compressor off and put a lightweight pulley on it when it was on stock motor, and we did all that stuff. Where it went wrong was, like I said, I had the Element SR's cams in it, or beside it, and I was like, I'm going to put these cams in, and we're going to make a ton of power to talk about them in. Pulled the motor out, decided to do that, pulled the dash out, to do the cage, and that led to like, okay, well, let's pull the heater core out of it. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to ditch all the factory wiring in the car, and I'm going to rewire the entire car. So I'm going to do a leash street strip board. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, if we do that, because I wanted to relocate the ECU inside the car, I was like, well, if I do that, then we're going to have to do a Holly. So I'm like, okay, well, let's order a Holly. And then I'm like, okay, well, you know, let's just do a fuel cell while we're here as well. So I just put a fuel cell in the rear of it. And I was like, you know what? I can't come back out white blue. Like, let's come out back. Let's like, you know, do something menacing. Let's fucking, instead of wrap it, let's paint this whole thing satin black. That was a whole challenge in itself because it's base clear. So like, that was a whole endeavor.
All of these things, which I am very thankful because I have a very nice car.
Yeah, exactly. And then that led to doing a T56 Magnum. Yeah. And so like I did a motor, ECU, paint, cage, trans, fuel cell, standalone, all in one shop. And it was just like 6 months time too. It was like 5 6 months time. So like
It was a lot of money.
a lot of
'Cause
money.
at that time, you paid retail for everything too.
Yeah,
Straight
yeah,
up retail.
yeah. No
ordered
turn
it.
14, no deals. I didn't
Yeah.
had
And,
no
you know,
sponsors.
that was before all this COVID BS, nothing in stock. All that
Yeah.
stuff was like kind of relatively
Yeah.
in stock.
Yeah.
And so it was very tempting to kind of just go spend a ton of money because it could be there in like 3 days.
Yeah,
Right.
and I still paid. People think I was sponsored by Whipple. I still paid for that Whipple.
Yeah.
I think I paid, I don't know, like $4,500 for the kit. Kit list like $6,300 new. I mean, they were like, I hit up Nick Perciello, or I don't care about name drop people, and I said, hey, like I want to do some stuff with the stock motor GT500, or I did some stuff with the stock motor GT500. I'm doing a full build now. I know you guys coming out with 3A. I want to do this. They were on board, and it just never phased out. It never phased out whatsoever.
Yeah, well, so you got it running. I got my car running with the built 5.8. Just my engine was pretty good. Your engine was pretty good. I mean, they were both.
Well, after 3 times, like I said, like I bought during all that build and what I just listed a minute ago. I went to New Orleans because some guy had a built bottom end 5.4 from a reputable machine shop. I get the motor home, and I wanted to go through some stuff because it was a lower compression motor. So I was like, oh, I'll just upgrade the pistons from like 9.5 to 1 to 11 to 1 pistons. And then when we told our apart, it just never phased out to be anything. So I was like, okay, well, I'll just build my stock long block. And I took my stock long block over there, and that's when the whole COVID ETA bullshit was going through the roof. Plus just shit ETAs from motor builders. And it just convinced everyone. I was like, okay, I'm not waiting a year when I have the entire car ready at this point. So like I just went through absolute hell getting the car to where it was at. It was a roller. I'm like, I'm not gonna wait forever for this long block. So I was like, well, let me just go find a bottom end. So I went and bought a bottom end from I think that some guy named Thomas that had a Molnar power out of Raj, JE, FSR pistons, some basic works, and we slapped it together.
Yeah,
that's what it was on.
Yeah, so my engine was kind of let's see, is that my phone? Yeah, going crazy. My engine was, kind of done to make a ton of power.
Yeah.
And then at least Jordan considered yours like an 1100 wheel horsepower max, but we had planned we were planning to just push whatever. If it blew up, it blew up.
Yeah, that's how I still to this day that's how I am. If something breaks, something breaks. Like obviously, like I want to refrain from going stupid on a combo. But if something breaks, you got to know what you're getting into. Like, you know what I mean?
By the way, that is the best way to go about racing a car. If you're racing something you can't afford, you're not going to have fun.
Yep.
There's a reason why I'm not going out chasing records in the CFTP car, right?
Yep.
$30,000 trans, $20,000 drivetrain. Sorry, guys, can't afford it.
Even paid off, it's still not a smart decision to do.
Yeah, my 07 GT500, it's a Coyote, right?
Blow it up and put another motor in it, baby.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's the best way to be. Like, you know what I mean? Like when that's why I love iron blocks. Why I love the 07 09. Other than the body style itself, it's an iron block. So like, yeah, the heads are stupid expensive, but like the bottom end's relatively. You can build a bottom end for $3,000. So like, it's not a huge deal, and you can even find stock motors on 07 09 cars for relatively cheap now. So like, it's not a huge deal to. Like you said, it's definitely the best mindset.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to go to the track and have some sort of failure and it's going to make you start throwing things, don't be racing. Like, you're going to break things. It just happens, especially in a stick shift car, blower car. Like, if you can't handle it, if you're getting mad about the financial stuff or just the struggle, just don't be racing cars. Like, it makes zero sense. And that's something that I've come to like kind of deal with. Like, that's why I built the 07 GT500 around something that I have a lot of parts readily available. I broke a starter or something. Not broke a starter, but like, I had a starter just stop working. I had it fixed in 15 minutes. I didn't even have to go to the parts store. I got 20 of them in a bin. Like stuff like that. It's like, do something that you can afford to fix. If you blow every single component, engine, trans, rear end on a pass, can you afford to fix it? And if the answer is
That's my favorite, dude. Like when like the Coyote cars that snap a drive shaft and literally cracks the case in the trans,
right,
cracks the back of the block, and you're like, next thing you know, this dude's literally like, oh my god.
yeah, if you can't afford to fix that car, don't race.
Yep.
It's just asking for a bad time, bad financial planning.
And then you
If
blame
you're
everybody
buying
yourself.
shit off of a firm
Credit card racers, dude.
and you're financing your car,
Yeah, that's one
like,
thing I've never done. I've never bought I've never bought parts on credit.
no,
Never. I mean, a lot of people do, and there's probably gonna be a lot of people watching this stuff that do. But
like, buy stuff on credit cards and then pay it off.
Mhm.
Like, you know,
that's fine.
Get your
points. Yeah.
But if you're
strapped,
financing it and racing it, oh man, it's just,
you're asking for trouble.
you know, because what happens is you finance, let's say you have a brand new Coyote, you got a $700 a month payment. You're like, man, everyone's fast with their boost, and then you just go and roll $8,000, right? And then with interest, that's going to become like 12. And then you still owe money on your car.
Yeah, while you're paying
off
for 3 years.
And then you pop the motor, and Ford says, "Nah, man, we're not going to cover that thing under warranty." What do you do?
Yeah.
Right.
You let it sit.
Right.
And then you get the bank credit
you
for the
sit
car,
it on fire and let
Yeah.
insurance take over. I mean, this stuff happens all the time, right?
Yeah, especially with shit we see. It's literally insane.
But back to the GT500 combo, when things started going
South.
well, let's talk the Holly, right? Because
that was the first problem. I mean, that's everything. That pretty much circled the entire problem.
Knowing what I know now, like, we would have been able to make that combo go so fast, so easily. The problem was, and I think this happens all the time, there's so many people who think they know how to tune, and they don't. And Holly is so fucking easy to tune. Like, if you actually know a little bit about what is going on and what things do and what things are supposed to look like, Holly is the easiest thing to tune. But the problem is, like, if you think it's super simple and you skip steps,
That's exactly what I did.
we saw. He pulled up his tune recently. The timing table.
Oh, I literally love it.
The timing table that he was
from
running
a Class A tuner, which I'm not gonna name drop anything there, but
his timing table's locked out at 18 degrees, right?
Locked out. The whole timing table's literally red, and it says 18 in every fucking
He
cell.
just texted this picture to me recently. I said, "No way, that was like your first tune, right?" He was like, "No, this is what the car ran on the whole time, right?"
From
So idle,
dude,
driving, and watt, 18 degrees. And for anybody who doesn't know, right, your idle, let's just say it's anywhere from 10 to 25 degrees, right?
Yep.
Your cruising is anywhere from 30 to 50, depending on your load. And your watt is anywhere from 18 to 20. Well, yeah, if it's a stock motor, I mean, 16 to 21. But, like, you need that blend of timing, you know, and you have so many different areas.
Well, that wasn't the only. I mean, that graph was that was the main one that looked like shit, but all the other graphs looked like shit too.
Yeah,
and that was the second tuner. That was like right after we got the car. The first tuner I had, and I'm not going to name drop his full name, but a guy by the name of Scott literally sent me a base map to get the car running after I just completely finished the car, and we would crank the car and it would just pop, 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 bang, bang, pop, pop, and literally you pull a plug on it, it's literally dripping with fuel. And I was like, dude, this thing is loaded with fuel. And he goes, dude, I'm telling you, I got all the fuel pulled out of it. Like, there's no way. He goes, are you sure these are 1300cc injectors? Like, chasing my entire, like, dude, everything is the same. Like, as far as the motor, like, same headers, same injectors, same rail, same fuel system that I had prior. I mean, I know I put a fuel cell, but like the same, everything transferred over. And I was like, it's the same setup. Like, and I know it all works.
This just comes down to, Holly is simple, right? But you need to know what you need to know how to set yourself up to succeed, right?
Yep.
You start with a Holly tune, like, what are your sensors? What are your injectors? Where's your fuel system pressure at? You know, does it got a blower? Where's your IAC? Your really simple stuff. And you start from scratch, throw out those setup wizard nonsense, right?
Yeah.
Take it out of the simple, you know, stuff. And like, you look at your VE table, right? And you know, I took a class on this, which helped clear up a lot of things. Shout out to the tuning school, and
yeah,
you know,
you taking all that stuff now, it helps a ton.
But you know, there's methods. You got to look at the VE table. You got to be like, okay, well, what's this value going to be? Max boost, right? Max boost, max RPM. What's that? So what are your maxes and mins, right?
Mm.
What is this thing going to be running at idle? Where's your spark going to be? All these different places. And Holly has ways you basically fill in your max mins, and then it'll figure out everything in between. It's so easy to set up
Yeah.
a base file, but it implies that you know
What you're doing.
what the very
Force.
basics. And dude, look at the Lightning car, right?
Yep.
Hodgepodge thrown together, 5.4 Lightning, open throttle body. Dude, slapped the tune together, started the thing up, made a few corrections, took it out on the street. I got a bypass valve vacuum line wrong, swapped it around, went from 4 pounds of boost to 12 pounds of boost, went out to Mustang Week and beat the shit out of it, and it lived.
Yeah.
Like, and it made 390, 495 torque. Like,
Yeah, it just works.
I barely spent any time tuning it. Like, it was that easy. But going back to your car.
So, yeah, this guy by the name Scott, which, mind you, he wasn't some Joe Schmo below. Like, that name enough should conclude to who this guy might be, but I know people love the drama. I literally searched, like, who's the best tuner? So, and everybody threw out this guy's name. So I was like, all right, hit him up, paid him some cash, like, let's get this thing fucking running. And literally for a week, I would try every night when I get home from work. And mind you, I'm working that's why I got burnt out on the car too. Mind you, and while you're hearing all this, I'm still working like a freaking.
Mm-hmm.
And people think I'm passionate about GT500s, but I'm extremely passionate about my job. I just love what I do. So like, I come home and I'm just diving through this drama on this car for a week, and that's when I started getting burnout. Like that's like right then. And I'm like, because it's out of my control, and that's why I wouldn't say I'm a controlling type of person, but I like when things are in my control, especially on my combos. So like I try to eliminate if I can do it, I want to do it, and that's why I like building motors now and stuff like that. Like I have a little bit of an idea, if not, I'll figure it out. But this guy, literally for every night I come home and we try. He's like, we would get on Team Viewer or whatever, and he would get on my laptop, go in there. He's like, dude, everything looks right. He goes, and he just keep changing fuel values. And I'm like, he's like, all right, fuck it, man. And I was like, dude, just pull all the fuel out of it. I am talking, make this thing run on nothing, like nothing. And literally pull. I think he literally said, okay, we went in there, pulled like 75% fuel out. First fucking key car runs. And that's a video of it chomping in my driveway, and I'm like, "What the hell, dude?" Like
dude, stuff like that though happens all the time, where there's someone who says they know what they're talking about,
yeah,
and you trust that person, and they don't.
Dude, I fucking love that. Like, dude, we're gonna go on a tangent here.
I mean,
we are gonna go deep here because there is so many people that act like they know what the fuck they're doing, and they won't admit that they don't.
No. And it's why like nowadays I don't. It's not that I don't listen to people, but like I'm very skeptical. I'm like, okay, so like and I ask questions all the time, like and you should ask questions, because they might have gotten lucky one time and then they're known for something.
Yep.
But they don't actually know like anything about why that works, and therefore they can't duplicate it.
Yep.
But they're out there giving their advice and selling their junk.
Yep.
And you trust them blindly, and you just get screwed.
You get fucking screwed.
Yeah.
No doubt. And there's, dude, that is so many big name engine builders, so many big name tuners, and that's probably why their ETAs and shit are just so far out, just because they're winging it. Yeah. Like some of these guys are fucking straight up winging it, and when you hear them talk, dude, they sound like they are literally the smartest people on the fucking planet, and they know how to bullshit. Yeah. That's literally what it comes down to.
So you start asking those intelligent questions. That I think that's what you learn in school, or you're supposed to learn in school. Like, ask intelligent questions. Like, because don't just...
A lot of people are afraid to ask shit like that.
Yeah, don't just be told that this is why something is, or whatever. Understand. You need to understand why, and why that makes sense. I mean, that goes in the suspension world. We've been led down the freaking dark alley in the suspension world. And don't get me wrong, there's a million ways to skin a cat, but... they're like, we'll be able to track, and one dude would be like, dude, crank that compression way up, or loosen the thing way up. You got to get it to squat. And it's like, no, you need anti-squat. It's like,
Some of these people have managed or ran leading suspension companies too, and they still act like they know what the fuck they're talking about.
dude, and don't get me wrong, like, so it's kind of like when you go to suspension stuff, right? How to make a car go kind of fast. Okay, get the thing to weight transfer to the rear and get it to go.
That's like the number one thing I learned after the fact of this whole entire car is literally if you set the car up to a 52% weight balance, the car's gonna fucking work. Like if something's way the shit all, like if something's way off, like you got to start moving stuff around.
But there's an extent, right? So you got a car that weight transfers, right? It comes back, sits on the back. That's great for no prep, and it actually works at the track to a certain level. But at a certain
freaking beater
point,
bomb, literally hanging 400 pounds of balance off the ass end of it, just so it works.
But at a certain point,
40-60.
weight transfer doesn't work, and you have to start using anti-squat because you're going to have a car that comes back so fucking hard, it's just going to unsettle, right?
Yeah.
It's going to unsettle, it's going to pogo forward. So that's where you need anti-squat. So we ran into this with, one guy's telling us, oh, dude, you got to loosen it up. You got to get it to squat in the back.
And you literally following guy tells you the same exact thing, and you're just trying to get a conclusive answer. Like you're literally admitting you don't know what you're doing. Just somebody help me, and you're getting two answers that are completely different from both people acting like they know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah, and then we throw in the stick shift factor, right?
Yeah.
So like a stick car is different from an auto car. An auto car leaves on a converter. It's got some slip, and it's more consistent. So it makes dialing a suspension car hard. But when you have two different people telling you two different things, and it's just, if you're trusting someone, you gotta know that they know what they're talking about, but you gotta also know and learn for yourself. That's the most important thing. Why does that work? Okay, why does it work?
Yep.
Because otherwise, what are you doing if you're not learning?
What are you trying to do? Yeah, exactly. Especially like building motors, like what has worked for people, what has not worked for people, and that's like all the way down to like just the components that actually make a motor run. But
yeah, tuning's just it's the biggest thing, and the reason why I started tuning is I just saw so much people
entitlement.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. People think they know what they're doing. People just don't care. The laziness, and I was like, I think I can do this.
Yeah,
and it's been going well. I mean, the 07 GT500, the one we've been talking about, that's the first 1,000 horsepower car I tuned, and it's on a Holly. I mean, like I said, Holly's really easy if you know what you're doing. But I made 1,019 on a stock motor, and we're getting close, maybe 8 months in. Car's still together. I mean, it's trapped 155 to 158 like 20-30 times. I mean, that's got to be 1,000 horsepower. I max out 1,300cc injectors, so that's enough fuel flow for 1,000 plus. Still together. I mean, I think that's a pretty good testament that I think I have an idea of what I'm doing.
What you got going on,
and it's gone. It spiraled from there. So I encourage people to not just sit back, and it goes into. I encourage people to learn, ask questions, and try their best to understand. Like, why does that work? How does it work? And how can they replicate that?
Yeah. Better themselves, yeah.
Yeah, and improve on it, too.
I mean, that's like we were just talking about earlier, why everything was better probably, and, when you're looking back in the 2000s, why everything was better, because people were doing stuff for themselves. They were actually critically thinking for themselves.
They're not just internet copy and paste combos, which works if you're,
but
you got your finance car with your Affirm Vortex Supercharger, or your, whatever you're financing, right?
Yeah.
You're copy and pasting a combo, your car makes 700 horsepower, and you get a lot of Instagram followers and likes, and, that type of stuff works. But when it comes to going fast, you need to know what you're doing, what you're talking about. And I mean, back then, I mean, we kind of, it's not that we didn't want to learn or anything. We just trusted
people.
We trusted everybody in, our circle. I mean, I had some sponsors or advertising stuff or whatever you want to call it. you know, I had some people who were helping me out, like I guess you could say helping me out financially, right? That sounds weird, but like, you know, I had been sponsored by VMP or whatever you want to call it, sponsored by Whipple, Palm Beach Dyno. So and BMR suspension, Keltrack. There's a lot of different people in there who they're like, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to, it just points all around, and you try to do everything and not think for yourself. And what happens is you don't really get a good performing setup, right?
Speaking about listening to companies, can we name one company real quick?
Which one?
Fucking LTH.
Oh God, those headers fucking suck.
That's like having a set of $600 JBAs fit way better than an LTH header.
I don't.
And they get so much clout, but they do not fit.
I honestly forgot about how much I hated those fucking headers.
Yep. And what I say by they do not fit is you physically can't drop the motor down out of the car unless the headers are unbolted, because the headers go up. So say these are the frame rails. The headers go up around the frame rails and bolt to the side of the motors. Well, most headers go down like this, and they clearance the frame rails. And that's most 2.25 inch headers for GT500s from other brands like ARH, Cooks, but even inch and 7/8 from LTH do not fit.
Those were awful. I think we ended up still using them when I put the built motor in. Mm-hmm. And whenever I contacted them, I'm like, dude, I can't drop the motor out the bottom. Like, that's what you have to really, well, I mean, I guess you pulled yours out of the top, but like,
yeah, I pulled a top and bottom a ton.
Well, 13-14 cars have so much junk, right? All those coolers and shit. It's so so much easier to put it out through the bottom, but you can't with the header. So what did we have to do? We had to drop the K-member while supporting the engine up top, lift it up, pull the header off, drop the engine back down on the K-member, and then lift the car up.
Yep.
And we did that exact process when we put the motor in, too.
Yep.
We were working till like 4 a.m.
Yeah, on a lift, I can pull a motor out of a GT500, literally, no matter the minutes or not, probably 45 minutes to an hour and a half. That setup, fucking 5 hours.
Yeah. that sucked. Those headers sucked. When the engine popped, I was like, these are being sold, whether I'm keeping it, not what, like, I was like, I am not dealing with these things ever again. And it wasn't like one of those situations where you could like hit the header, clearance it a little bit. The whole primary laid on top of the frame rail.
Yep.
I think we lifted the engine up initially, and the engine was being supported by the headers, like free in the air.
Yep.
And gravity would not let it fall because it was so stuck on the frame rail. That was when we first realized how bad the problem was.
Yeah, it was pretty fucking bad.
So that, those sucked.
Which I feel like that's gonna get that comment alone probably get a ton of hate. There's so many GT500 owners that are fanatic. That company never really came, public until like 2019.
Yeah, I don't. Well, CPE is the owner of long tube headers. I don't know.
What keeps the lights on at Kenny Bell?
Well, that was
talking about companies. Let's just go ahead and go right down the dark path.
We had this conversation about Kenny Bell, right? Because we know Whipple stays in business. They sell a good amount of blowers. VMP, they sell blowers and all sorts of stuff. And then we were like, Kenny Bell, like what? Who buys it? But so I guess they got sold out recently. So we had this really good conversation before. We were like, who the fuck buys Kenny Bells anymore?
Yeah, nobody. I mean,
right?
When's the last time you seen a new Kenny Bell? Like, oh, just unboxed by Kenny Bell. Or you know what I mean? Like, oh, I just picked up this used 2.2 Kenny Bell from 2004. Like, nobody's got a new Kenny Bell.
I've heard through the grapevine, AccuFab, who is they got money, right?
Yeah.
They bought Kenny Bell.
John Mahovitz or whatever his name is.
Right. So
Modular God, apparently, quote unquote.
Yeah, so they own Kenny Bell, and I guess Kenny Bell just operates as fixing blowers and doing the minimum. It doesn't really make too much sense to me, but
yeah, I mean, I know they got probably several 4 or 5 axis CNCs, so the business itself's probably.
I heard that they don't.
Well, they do outsource their own shit.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. Honestly, a little confusing.
I mean, dude, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you I really fuck with a 2.2 Kenny Bell 0304 Cobra. Those things scream.
Well, so
And like a 4.2 Kenny Bell GT500, those things make some power too. 4.7.
well, the 2.2 Kenny Bell, right? Let's talk about that, right? The shittiest, most inefficient blower.
They don't make a ton of power, but they
Right?
scream.
What is whine? Whine is inefficiency and it's turbulence of air through the rotors. You know what turbulence is? It's like, you know, it's literally, I just almost made like a whistle, right?
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a whistle. It's the turbulence of the air moving through the blowers.
Yeah.
The more inefficiency you have, the louder the whine. Why does that lightning piece of shit whine louder than
anything?
Insert whatever joke you want. Because that Eaton is the most inefficient blower.
Yeah.
Why does the 2.2 Kenny Bell sound sick? Because it's screaming at 570 wheel horsepower.
Yeah, it makes like, I think the most you can make with one's like, what, 600 something?
Yeah, you could, on E85, you might be able to make like 620, 650.
Yeah.
You know?
But they're nasty. I mean, I love a 2.2 Kenny Bell, a 304 Cobra. I mean, that's the perfect part in the Roto 3.
But Kenny Bell doesn't sell these things anymore.
No, you're done. I mean,
if they came out and they're like, this just in Gen 10 2.2 Kenny Bell, we changed absolutely fucking nothing, and people would be like, take my money.
Yeah, it's sold. Yeah, because like you see a 2.2 come up on the 0304 Cobra form.
You would start seeing the VMPs and Whipples, like Gen 5 Whipple 3.0. I'm selling, I just want to change things up. I'm going to a 2.2 Kenny Bell.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You would see VMP Gen 3Rs or whatever up for sale. Sorry, guys. I'm going to a 2.2 Kenny Bell.
Yeah, 2.2 Kenny Bells will start bringing as much as Misty Chrome cars, dude.
Oh, man. Yeah, but Kenny Bell, that one's still a little bit of a mystery. But
yeah.
Yeah, whatever.
I knew you were gonna get a kick out of that. We always joked about fucking Kenny Bell.
Well, let's talk Whipple 3.8, right? On built motor GT500.
Yeah, we never really went down even further after the whole tune issue, but the fueling problems that I had on my GT500.
Yeah, well, you eventually kind of got it, but the car was never like, it was always like sputtering and
it always ran like shit until Casati, what's his name, Matt Casati at VMP. He's got some Holly knowledge, and I will give him credit where credit's due. He spent like 3 days on the car, and that was like literally the week and a half before I sold it all. So it didn't really matter, but I mean, he had that thing actually running, right? Throttle tip in, come down idle. I mean, it ran great for what it was. And
well, so that
was the end of it all, though.
You had the 3.8 Whipple. Me and Cody went through a lot of belts. We had, so it's funny, like, I think me and you had, like, 1 and 2 VMP Gen 3Rs. And then we had, like,
the first
2, like, I think that green Whipple 3.8.
Yes.
And then there,
green
like,
blade on the
I had, like, 2nd and 3rd. Like, we
Yep.
had very early production 3.8 Whipples. Yep. And apparently we were, what's the word? Right word. We had bad hubs. Like, they were offset incorrectly or something. So we were kind of, and we were working with Whipple at the time to try to figure it out because they didn't know this was a problem. We kept snapping belts, back and forth. And
like, mine will literally jump a rib off and then just shred the entire belt.
Yeah, and it did. I did find out, by the end, when we put auxiliary idlers on it, it broke the belt instantly. But we fought that for a while. We've got some offset pulleys from Whipple. We kept going through it. You just had nonstop issues, and then Cody's, like I said, I was working with Whipple directly. Whipple hooked me up with the blower. The blower made great power, right?
Yeah.
Yours made 1100 wheel, pretty much low boost.
I think most of me ever made was like 1140 or some shit. 1120.
Yeah, mine made as much as like 1308 stock ECU, and then it made 1350 with Motec. Like, the blower, no question, the blower.
The only difference between our cars really that made consensual power differences
heads cam and compression.
Yeah, he had way beefier cams. His heads were a little bit different, and his compression was 10.5 versus mine 9.5.
Yeah.
So that's what separated us in that 150 horsepower ballpark. But my car also weighed like 500, 600 pounds, 800 pounds less maybe. I don't even know, it was like 3,200. So
yeah. Well, I know what it weighs now with the Coyote.
Yeah, but go on. What were you saying about Whipple?
The blower made power, but we were just basically fucked because I mean, so.
We were literally R&D'ing a blower that we didn't make.
Yeah, so the problem was the pulley was offset. I finally kind of got mine to keep it. It would keep a belt on it for a weekend, right? And that was good enough for where I had the car, and then my car kind of stayed stagnant for a while because I put a lot of cash down on the Motec, and then it was supposed to be in like a month, and then it ended up being 6 months. So I
Mhm.
did nothing with my car for a while. You switched over to a VMP because you were like,
Well,
you,
after like 30 or 40 belts, I probably had $2,000 in belts. No fucking doubt in my mind. I had a whole pile. I made a video, like a little
yeah,
10-second
I think I
video,
have
cutting my
your
final belt.
pile.
What's that?
I have your pile. Like I
Yeah,
have a shitload of belts.
yeah, bad. So we tried milling pulleys. I tried milling the crank snout pulley to bring a whole entire pulleys inward to the timing cover.
Yep.
I
And your
lasered
single
pulley.
belt conversion was also complicating something that
Yes, the one of the
didn't need to
alternator
be
brackets,
complicated.
one of the alternator brackets on the side of the alternator did allow for a little bit of flex at like 7,000 RPM. So we had to fucking find a way to strengthen that. So I was
It's
juggling.
just you were set up for failure all around.
Bingo. Yes.
It's no
And
chance.
stubborn. I was so stubborn that I just wanted to see that work and not change anything.
Well, you were
I had a
already at your wits end. Like you were
yes.
like, and I think you had a lot of fun at Bradenton. That one time we went, the car started working. It started 60 footing. I think you got like a 1.3 something 60.
Yeah, it was like a 142. I
Like
think.
it was starting to work, but then you were like, oh, it's like not making boost up top because
Yep.
it's slipping.
Yep.
So whenever we got your car to
Work.
work and the belt not break, we were
Yeah.
like, cool, but it's got some belt slip. Let's put this aux idler
Yeah.
on, and what does it do? It fucking breaks the belt.
Yep.
Because there was a belt misalignment issue. Could be the alternator, could be the blower, could be just a little bit of everything. But when you add that auxiliary
Especially
idler
right
on
beside
the
the blower.
snout,
Where it's off. Yeah.
it's like kind of like if has anyone ever taken a stretch belt off a Coyote? You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about, the stretch belt. How do you do it? You pull it off so it's misaligned and you start turning it.
Yep.
Well, with that auxiliary idler putting all that tension right next to the blower that is potentially off, it makes it just ride off, especially once you get RPM and like some resistance there. You're set up for failure.
And I got so pissed off between the whole deal because like I couldn't get a clear answer on if it was off or wasn't off, or we were seeing other issues, and then it came to the conclusion that
I think
there was 4 or 5 other cars that were having the same exact issue that were nobodies that they didn't have any type of spotlight or anybody was actually looking at the car. Like so, these guys are just regular mom and pop people out in the middle of nowhere just trying to enjoy their 3.8 that they were still having issues and calling Ripple directly.
Yeah.
And they were trying to R&D the problem. So I'm like, okay, like I can't get a clear answer. I'm like, and at this point we were probably 2 months in, and like 2 months every weekend, 2 or 3 nights a week trying to figure out a solution. Multiple dynos hits, pulling the fucking motor out of the car, putting it back in, all kinds of shit.
Yep. And so you paid for your blower, right? So you felt and we went from selling a bunch of VMPs because people want to copy our combos. We sold a bunch of Whipple 3.8s, right? And then you paid for your blower. I didn't pay for my blower,
Yeah.
which thanks Whipple.
Yeah, but you also have. I mean,
we had a lot of problems.
I mean, although I was pushing the car, I mean, the only people that actually follow the bill were people on GT500 Nation. You have a whole 100,000 plus YouTube subscriber page. It's literally a lot of people don't understand how programs are set up and how
Yeah.
you know.
But you were basically like, you were at your wits end, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, I think you had 2 nitrous bottles and you were thinking about going twin turbo and you were about to go, even further down the deep end. And then you were just kind of like, you're like, what can work and just get me some sort of enjoyment out of this thing? And that's when you went back to the Gen 3R.
Yep.
It was kind of like, well, the car worked pretty well back then.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did that. It made power on the dyno. But I mean, you can fill it in.
I don't. Yeah, too many people wanted to know the differences between the 3.8 versus the Gen 3R and what I made on the Combros because like that was the first real built motor GT500 that was actually doing stuff to figure out like 2 comparisons. We made very similar power between the two. Whipple was able to make more boost than the Gen 3R. I think we were like plateauing on Gen 3R like 25, 26 pounds. Whereas the Whipple, I think we were on like a 3.0 pulley with a 15% lower, and we were already making like 30 plus pounds. I mean,
Mhm.
I know Whipple 3.8 could probably make like on that combo. Like, I mean, it's all about efficiency. So like I don't like saying, well, it could make this because technically, if you had better cams or had better heads, it would make substantially amount less. But an L&M NSR cam, which is what 90% of GT500 owners run, on a mildly ported head, you can make like 35 pounds to 38 pounds through a 3.8 Whipple. Like if you pulleyed that thing to the moon, and I know somebody could go stupid fast with it if it actually worked. Like, you know, and that's the problem is you got a lot of rotor weight too, so that's just snapping belts itself.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I don't think a PD blower is a sustainable combo.
past 1100.
11 to let's just say 1300, right?
Mhm.
I'm talking in terms of rotor health, right?
Okay.
When I pulled my blower off, it was beautiful. Rotors look great. I beat the shit out of the car on the street at least.
Yeah.
But my car saw a peak of 28, 30 pounds. But we've seen a lot of Whipple failures, 3 liters, 3.8 very recently. I don't know if it's a manufacturing issue or whatever.
Oh,
But
that's decided. I mean,
some
Whipple thing
like
fucking
some of these
blasted
cars are trying to live them, like have them live at 1500 wheel horsepower on a Coyote combo.
recently. Yeah,
A
20 plus
Coyote
thousand
has
lower RPM.
less displacement, it needs a ton of boost,
ton of
and
RPM.
and a lot of RPM, right? And these things are not going to last
No.
at those crazy combos. My car did pretty well. I mean, I was happy with it. But the reason why I was going to switch over to twin turbo, especially when the engine popped, and the engine popped in the worst possible time because I was peer pressured into bringing the car to the track. I broke my rule of
Yeah, we always peer pressured each other. That was always our thing. Hey man, you ready for the track tonight? We're not ready at all.
and I was not I was in that financial time of selling the house and kind of resituating everything, and I was like, I don't want to go to the track because if I break something, major engine, trans, rear end, or whatever, I can't afford to fix it. I broke my fucking rule. I went out and raced it, and I blew the fucking motor. I mean, it's not like like I had the money. I had the money to fix it within whenever.
Yeah.
I had planned. I had planned for it to be done in 2 months. But when I broke it that night, there was some like video that I just cut out because it was too embarrassing. Because I was literally
Yeah, he cuts out way too much of his video. I wish, like, I've been trying to tell Andrew, and he's getting better at it now. I want more raw Andrew.
Well, maybe I should be like, it's just a 6 and start sobbing at the end of a track pass or something.
No.
But when that thing was decelling, smoke out the back, I said, I lifted a head or fucking popped something really bad. And I was pissed. Like I was saying to myself, I'm like, I shouldn't have fucking come. Like I was just so negative, and I don't like to be negative or like.
What was the whole deal with the intercooler bolt too? Like, wasn't there an intercooler bolt
So-
that backed out, and we thought like I didn't put an intercooler bolt in or something like that?
So an intercooler bolt definitely backed out on mine and bounced around on that same piston. But
Definitely was not the reason that thing flew up.
I think that bolt backed out, right?
Mhm.
It backed out, exited, did its normal thing, and I think it lifted ahead. That also goes back to that was when the car was Motec,
Were you
right?
on stock intercooler?
Stock intercooler.
Because dude,
We had issues
God,
with
dude.
that
we
other
threw
intercooler.
way too many parts of these cars.
Well, yeah, I mean, in a lot of parts that were new, right? The GT500 is a relatively old platform for when we were getting all sorts of new parts that were.
We did like 5 or 6 years worth of work in like 3 months.
Yeah. So there was a lot of issues there. But yeah, when the engine melted down, I was pretty bummed because I wasn't ready to fix it. And but
Yeah, you did beat the absolute shit out of that car over. The course
well,
of-
I had planned to pull the engine out and do the refresh, do bearings, which the bearings look like shit. I mean, if that didn't happen then, I mean, they were showing copper, like
we
they
talk about this all the time. Like you could literally pull a 200,000 mile OEM 5.0 Coyote, like literally pull a car that has 200 plus thousand miles, and the bearings will look mint from the factory.
Yeah, I mean that goes into, I feel like some people try to reinvent the wheel with bearing clearance, and they have this theory that's not really backed up by anything. And they try these bearing clearance and stuff, but like Ford factory has stuff figured out pretty dang well. I mean, I bet if I tore down that Gen 2 Coyote in the black car right now, I would pull the bearing caps off. I bet they would be beautiful, perfect, right? The car has, let's just say 500 miles on it.
Yeah.
The engine has 500 miles on it, but it has 150 passes on it.
There's an engine builder that's, I forget his name. I don't know if it's Bess or, I mean, I'm talking somebody that's actually very reputable, and his quote is, "Build it loose and no one know. Build it tight and everyone will know."
Right.
So like, I feel like so many people try to tighten up bearing clearances and literally get these things to like literally nothing, and rod bearing, main bearing variance clearance, and then literally just change everything within the combo, and just build it the way Ford tells you to build it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's so many different. I mean, we could talk forever about engine builders and yeah.
There's a lot of good ones out there. I mean, a lot of stuff I don't even know myself. I mean, I
There's
first want to
well,
claim I do.
there's so I've been watching Steve Morris a little bit. He has a YouTube channel. He just posted a video yesterday. I watched it. I found it pretty interesting. He also tunes cars, right? I think there's something to be said about an engine builder that will also tune that car, right?
Yeah.
Because that means they have the knowledge of the physical components, and they also have the knowledge of how it operates, right?
Yeah,
And
and
he's
the
someone
balls.
who does tune,
Yeah.
stuff. He posted a video about how traction control cars living on traction control to go like 430s in the eighth. It's not a good idea. And he showed this data log, and I was like, dude, what are you talking
Using
about?
traction control on a very fast car and you watching it, the timing move all the way. Is that what you're saying?
Well, the timing was moving from 26 to 10 degrees
Like that?
within a microsecond.
Yeah.
Like, and like, because at first I was like, what are you talking about? And then I was like, oh, yeah. And then he actually, this is one of those moments where you kind of are like, maybe this guy actually knows what he's talking about. And he started breaking down about, he's like, okay, well, an engine runs at 8,000 RPM. You divide that by this. And then he got into the compression stroke. Like, he described it perfectly.
Like legit
And
cylinder pressures.
yeah, he was talking about, so basically when you're having this timing going from 25 degrees to 10, right? And that's actively controlling horsepower, probably in 400 to 600 horsepower swings on this car, right?
Yeah.
It's fast as fuck car, 30 pounds plus boost, methanol. But those big swings, and what's happening is you're at a 3-4 air fuel ratio. That's a ton of fuel. So you're going from 26 degrees, you're filling up that cylinder with fuel, and then you're changing that timing so rapidly. There's fuel that's just going all over the place, and what happens? Your EGTs spike,
Yeah.
right? And you melt a piston. He showed this log of the car melting down a piston. You can see EGTs. They're rising to 1,500.
Overcomplicating shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, those are the people you should trust. We were talking about earlier how you shouldn't trust people and you should watch who you're talking to. People that like Steve or Nelson Racing Engines and Steve
Right.
Morris, those people like that literally engineer everything. If there's not a part they'll fucking make it. Like, those are the guys that know their shit.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Yeah. So the GT500 era for both of us was a lot of fun, a lot of struggling, and we learned a lot.
Mhm.
And I think we both kind of, took a little bit of a break from that. I mean, I've never really taken a full on break. I mean,
Yeah,
this
you
has been
always
my,
like cars.
my full-time gig for a while, but I learned a lot. I've learned to do a lot more for myself and understand as much as I possibly can about everything. That is so important. Don't take on more than you can handle, right? I had the gear, right? The gear swap I just did. I had Nick Curtin, my good friend, swap the gears, right? Can I figure out how to do gears? Yes. Got an event coming up. I know Nick knows how to do gears. I don't have to worry. Drop the car off. Boom, done, right? Have I done it? Do I know everything about it? Not everything, but I've done it, but knowing about every single thing on your entire car, especially a race car, you should know every bolt on that entire car. So if the bolt drops at the staging lanes, you should be like, I know where that came from.
Yeah, unless you have a lot of money. Unless you have UGR money. Those are my favorite type of guys, bro.
Yeah, but those guys fly into Texas.
400 or 500, yeah. Fly on their jet and like literally unload on a 18-wheeler semi, 500K Huracan. Just let me get in that car and literally hit.
Did you look at Demolition Derby 2x2K last year, right?
Yeah.
Just
put
because
that
they
thing
have a
against the wall.
shitload of money in a 3,000 horsepower Lambo doesn't mean they know how to fucking drive at 220 to 240 miles an hour.
Yeah.
You see those things just smacking into each other like
Yeah.
like smacking the wall. Oh man. And I guess the other thing we can say is rushing to go to the track is not a good idea, but I don't think we'll ever avoid it. Like, let's be honest. Like,
hey man, track this weekend. The motor's sitting out the car. They're beside it.
that is part of the fun as long as it is still fun.
Yeah.
When it stops becoming fun, I don't do it.
Yeah, you have when it stops becoming fun for you, you always have a tendency to have more like in the past you've always had a tendency to just keep pushing forward.
Mhm.
Whereas me, when I stop having fun, I usually just park the car or I sell it.
Yeah.
But on that car specifically, the reason I just sold it right away is because I had so much money invested in it. I was trying to figure out a house, trying to figure out life, trying to figure out job, trying to figure out my girl. So it's like now it's just like I'm chilling. So I don't. If something goes wrong with this car, it's just gonna be parked, and then I was like, I'll get to it. Figure it
Well,
out.
he parted it out.
Yeah.
He sold everything like super cheap, and then he posted the roller. And I was driving to North Carolina. I was delivering the S550 giveaway car, which is up there. Miss it,
On a picture. That's
Well-
how we actually truly met.
Yeah.
Which is right around the GT500 times.
But you posted on Facebook the 07 GT500 roller with the fuel system, the cage, whatever, for 12 grand. And I was like, fuck. And I was like, do I got the money? Yeah. Should I buy it? I don't know. If he says okay to $10,000, did I need to lowball you with $10,000?
Yeah.
No. It was just like one of those things. Like if he
Just work.
says okay, then I gotta do it. And then you were like, you know what? For you, yeah. And I was like, fuck.
I was like, yeah, for you if you do it.
And then
yeah, and then I was like, but if you ever let it go, like you gotta let me know. He's like, oh, 100%, and you sent it right over.
Yeah, and I didn't really, I kind of took my time piecing together that Coyote setup for that car because at that time, this was before I started doing all these swaps and like really like kind of building cars, right?
And what's funny about this, off topic, is that car was titled in Ohio, and I never transferred it to Florida. So the title was stuck in Ohio. So somebody had to go to the DMV in Ohio to get the title printed.
Don gift.
So technically, that car was still titled in my name, like all the way up until like 6 months ago.
Yeah,
I had it for like years.
I had to get it street legal for the NMRA event. So, but finally it got titled over. But
it was always a joke. Andrew's like, "Yeah, man, I'm building a car for you again." And I was
Yeah.
like, "Shit, dude, I gotta get you that title, brother."
yeah, you got to make a pass in that thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it's fun. I know you're still the 5'4" person, but I just built it around something that I can afford to fix, and I
Yeah.
have parts readily available. And I ended up putting that car together. Actually, it kept getting pushed off when I put that car together because, and I'm actually glad because I ended up doing it with the manual because it was supposed to be a 6R80 car.
Yeah.
And I had learned so much from doing the Coyote swap on OG, like a street car. And then I learned so much from the Fox body, going from the blower to the turbo setup and the 6R80 and kind of all the different.
What does have you have a 6-speed in it?
Yeah, well, the Fox body the 6R80 was cool in the Fox body and everything, but it made me realize like if you're gonna build a race car, 6R80 is a great street car trans, but like you're going to, and it's better than a 10R80, but it's a TH400 or a Power Glide, but really a TH400.
Yeah.
Right. That's the trans to do if you're going to go automatic drag race car.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I don't want to do that. And then I was like,
Camera's dying. We're dying.
camera's dying. We've been going for a while. This is probably going to be a pretty long podcast, but I think people usually do like an hour, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's some people that have done 3 hours. You see some of the Joe Rogan podcasts. I mean, we and you could chat for fucking 4 or 5 hours about some. Really
Yeah,
cool. We didn't even get to talk about like the house stuff and like tracks behind your house and.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do just another.
Oh yeah, we'll do one down the road, especially
right.
obviously as GT500.
Yeah. Well, let's wrap it up on my car, right? So put it together, T56. So glad that I did that, and it's been awesome. Getting ready for FL2K next weekend. It'll be good. Look forward to that. before we wrap it up, because we got to, because our camera's dead. Let's talk about the 07 GT500 we picked up from Copart.
Yeah, I bought a 07 GT500
Mhm.
for like $6,000.
Yeah, it was a good deal.
Running, driving,
Yep.
clean GT500 for like $6,000. So like that's kind of where I'm at in life now. Is just like, what can I get that I've had before that's like absolute max effort for much less of a price than I ever paid before.
Yep. So it needs some repairs, some dents, and
It was a hail car, Colorado hail car at that. So if you know what Colorado hail looks like, you know.
Yeah, and it was listed as a no run, no drive, no start or whatever, right? Got off the trailer.
It's our favorite.
Yeah. What was it? The clutch sensor.
Yeah, clutch sensor. Yeah.
Yeah.
Put the clutch in.
I ended up just I put on a jumper pack and I gave it the starter power through the relay. They always fire up just like that.
Yep.
And that's when we knew we're like, we got a ripper. We did some burnouts, right?
Yeah.
But we're getting that ready to go for the stock motor record again. But the difference is we have the knowledge, right?
And I got a spare, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so 07 GT500, we're going to simplify all the BS we did before.
Yep.
Without giving all the details.
Everything's going to be in the car, too.
Yeah, stick shift, Gen 3R, right? Stock motor combo, fuel system, good suspension, lightweight.
And every ounce of boost you can put through it.
Yeah, and the one key difference is, and I convinced him that this was the way because he was a little wary because his experience with the Holly before. We went with Holly.
Yep.
The Holly's on order. Actually, it hasn't come in yet.
Not
Still,
yet.
wow. But Holly Terminator X, I'll be tuning it, of course. And the reason for that is just because once you go stock ECU, you order the wide bands and all that stuff. Like,
yeah,
we're in it for like basically the same as the Holly, and I have so much more control over a Holly because it's boost based, right?
Yeah,
timing, literally everything. And on a stock motor combo, I can keep the rods in. I can say, okay, if this thing makes 30 pounds of boost at 4,000 RPM. No timing, that's how the timing table set up, right? You know, we can really keep that motor alive, and then we can start really leaning on it. We'll have good data. I know how to use the Holly so well and so effectively that I don't see any reason why this thing won't.
And we can always get more from Copart too, so it's like not really sweating it.
Yeah, I mean, we might even be able to fly into the 8s, right?
Yeah.
A stock motor.
Yeah, dude, if we go mid to low 9s, that's like, I just want to consistently race at mid to low 9s. I want to have a car, like I miss when that car, like when it was white with blue stripes, I have 20 or 30 time slips still on the top of my toolbox of 9.4 to 9.9 passes. And it's like, pulled up the line, I knew what it was going to do. It's going to be somewhere in the 9s. So like, that's what I want to do again.
So that is coming soon. I think we're going to wrap up podcast here.
Yep.
Talked 2024, talked financials. We've talked a little bit of shit.
There's some more we can talk to.
There's more. You guys let us know if you want to see more on this. The podcast idea, I think, let us know what the quality looks like. Hopefully it comes out well, besides this last little bit where we're only on one camera, but we got 2 microphones, 2 cameras. We'll probably dial this in and maybe we'll come back. I mean, we definitely need to come back, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Talk about some more stuff. But we will see you guys in the next one. And let us know what you think.